What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. Now, if you're a fan of relationship drama stories, this is the perfect episode for you. Put yourself in this position. Your partner of 8 years all of a sudden turns around to you and says that they want to open up the relationship. Well, sadly, that is exactly what happened to this woman in our first story. So without further ado, sit back, relax, make sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. Here we go. My boyfriend of 8 years told me he wanted to open our relationship. I am a 28-year-old woman, and I met my boyfriend, who is 29, many years ago through some friends. He was living in another place on the other side of the country. We instantly took a liking to each other and became boyfriend and girlfriend. In the first year of our relationship, it was distance. Both agreed that after I finished my schooling, I would go and live with him. I had to leave behind everything. Friends and family, a perfect job offering with an amazing salary with this company that I'd interned in previous years, which I loved, by the way, but I thought that he was worth it. So I moved to where he lives and everything was good. We talked about our future, both agreed we'd get married at 30. We focused on our jobs and ourselves. We fought, but could never be mad at each other for longer than a few hours. We bought a house together with a nice yard. The perfect home for our future together. Last night, while we were eating dinner, my boyfriend told me he wanted to talk about something. I said, all right, and we proceeded into the conversation. He started off by saying that he loved me and that I'm perfect to him. I thought he was going to propose to me. Instead, he told me that he is polyamorous, that he just realized that, and that he wanted to open our relationship. I asked if I did anything wrong for him wanting to open the relationship, wondering if I didn't satisfy him enough emotionally and sexually. He said no, and that it's just who he is. I told him that I only believed in monogamy. I can't personally see myself with anyone but him. He told me that I was being ignorant when I told him I only wanted him. I backtracked into what I was saying and asked him if he'd already thought of another woman that he wants instead of me. He tried to deny it, but he said there was a woman that he'd met, that she's also poly, that they never did anything and that I shouldn't worry about it. But I couldn't believe it. I didn't know what to say, so I finished dinner in silence. That night, I chose to sleep in the guest room. I couldn't bear to look at him. I started thinking of all the things and opportunities I'd missed, like my dream job, my friends, missing life achievements of my nieces and nephews, and not spending enough time with my mother before she passed away. All of the 8 years I had just went away. They left a sour taste in my mouth. I regret the life I had in the past 8 years. I keep thinking of who would have been, what I would be doing. This morning, he didn't go to work because he felt like trash because I slept separately. So we talked about everything, and I told him that I cannot be with someone like him, that I didn't want to enter an open relationship. I told him I wanted to leave. He started crying and said he couldn't change who he is. Why would I say that I regret our time together? I told him because he'd wasted it, and our future together has just disappeared. I told him it would take me time to learn to not love him anymore. I thanked him for the past 8 years together. He said he takes it all back and that he'll stop talking to the other girl, that he doesn't want our relationship to end, but I can't do that to someone I love. I cannot hold someone back from becoming who they are. If he is poly, I don't care, but it's just not who I am. I've packed all the things that I own. I'm gonna move back home, live with a friend. I applied for a job that I actually like. I'm sort of embarrassed to admit to family and friends why our relationship ended because it feels like I wasn't good enough for him. I feel like I wasted my 20s for him. Okay, that is the original post. Now, before we get into the update, first of all, here are some relevant comments that are very pertinent to the story. Someone asked, I wonder if he is also okay with you seeing other people. And OP replied, when I asked him how he would feel if I saw others and bringing other men into our home, he said he wouldn't mind and that we wouldn't bring a new person into our bedroom, but into a guest room, which felt super icky. Another comment, which to be fair is quite a obvious one, but maybe they didn't actually ever have this conversation. Someone said, did you never have the monogamous versus poly talk? OP replied, the only talk we had was about us, marriage, and children only. I never had the desire to pursue anyone in 8 years. It was only him. I know what poly is. I understand it, but it's not for me. Yeah, you know what? I kind of agree with that. I think it's a pretty niche thing to be polyamorous. The majority of people aren't polyamorous. So surely if you're talking about children, marriage, the future with just you two, Yeah, it makes sense that you wouldn't outright ask that question. It's kind of implied, monogamy in general, right? So then let's get on to the update. This was posted a month later, the beginning of this month again, October the 1st. I thought I'd give an update of what happened. It's been well over a month since my ex-boyfriend wanted to open our relationship. I've moved away and now I have my own place. My new job is much better than my last one. Everything's been good for me, spending a lot of time with family. When we told our mutual friends and our families why we ended our relationship, they thought it was a trashy situation and they just joined my side. About the house that I've recently purchased with my ex, we decided to put it up for sale and split everything evenly. I haven't talked to him since we broke up, but I've heard that he started dating the girl he told me about, which I knew was coming, so I wasn't really surprised. I'm not really in the mood for dating at the moment. I'll probably take more time for myself. In the end, I'm happy. I've learned a lot and everything has been good. You know, sometimes I wonder with these stories, right? How can you be with someone for 8 years and then suddenly out of nowhere, they just do this, they just spring this surprise on you? Surely after 8 years of being with someone, you must be able to feel as if you really know them. Yet, how can you if they end up doing something like this? It's insane to me. I also do think, or kind of worry/wonder, whether this guy is even polyamorous at all, or he just used it as an excuse because he was emotionally cheating on you with this woman, kind of proven by the fact, well, at least the fact that he was emotionally cheating on you, that very soon after you guys break up, after you leave, he's dating the woman. I mean, normally after an 8-year relationship, you'd have a little bit of time off, right? They say that it takes half the length of a relationship to get over that relationship, but no, he's straight back on the horse. I think that shows his true intentions. Also, I need to just kind of remind myself here. He called her ignorant because she identified as monogamous and wasn't happy that he was poly. What? That's the sort of bloke that we're dealing with here. Really? So in that case, yeah, I kind of understand why OP is saying at the end that she is happy, because you're never really going to be happy with that bloke long term if you stay with him for sure. And at least now you know and you can move on with your life. Yeah, it's tough. I wouldn't see it as wasting your 20s or those 8 years, but it's crazy. Out of nowhere, yeah, I get it. It does feel like those 8 years, or at least that 8-year relationship, was for nothing. Me, a 19-year-old man, and my sister, who is 21, found a video of our mum, who is 45. My sister thinks it's of her cheating, but I think it might not be. We can't agree what to do with it. My sister found this video on my mum's laptop. I think she was using her laptop for some school stuff, and she must have gone snooping through her personal files. She found this video. It's from a few years ago according to the date of the file. It's definitely our mum in the video, and it looks to be in some hotel room. There's definitely a man in the video, but he's holding the camera and we don't see his face or hear his voice. I don't want to go into any detail, but it's basically a striptease/sex tape filmed by the man. So while our mum is clearly identifiable, I can't tell exactly who the man is. I first got angry at my sister for showing it to me. I told her this is gross. I don't want to see that. She told me she thinks it could mean that our mum is cheating on our dad and we should at least present the information to our dad. I told her it's very likely it's him in the video. You can see the man's hands in a few shots. I think it's my dad, but she seems to think it's not him. I told her if we show it to them and it is him, not only will we be embarrassed, but they'd be mad at her for snooping. She was like, "Why do you care? I'm the one who did the snooping, so only I'll get in trouble. I'll cover you if they try to get mad at you." I told her there has to be a more sensitive way of approaching the situation, instead of just bombarding our parents with, "Hey, we saw your sex tape, which could either be with you or mum's secret lover, and we should consider the fallout." However, she seems pretty adamant that she just wants to show them. She thinks it's the safest option, since if mum was cheating, she gets exposed, but if it was just dad, then no harm done. We can't agree on what to do, and I have a feeling she might show it to them regardless of what I feel. But if I push hard enough, I might convince her of an alternative solution. So, any ideas on what we should do? Well, what a way to kick off 2024. First story of the new year, and it's this. Goodness me. Before I give my thoughts, guys, get in the comments down below. It's imperative that I hear what you have to say about this. Such a sticky situation, and I really don't know how I go about this, but Yeah, I want to hear your thoughts. From my perspective, I'd honestly just be so tempted to just leave it. Like, you found it in a weird way. It's such a weird piece of footage anyway, from your perspective as your mum's children. And look, it could be your dad, it could be someone else. Ultimately, is it worth the hassle of going through all this? Is it really? I mean, look, if it is someone else, another man, then it probably is, and you have to face the embarrassment to save your dad. But if you're pretty confident it's your dad anyway, as you are, OP, I know your sister's not, but you are, then there's no way you should ever talk about this, because imagine bringing up your parents' own sex tape to them. I can't think of anything more cringy. Now, interestingly, OP actually came up with some plans of his own, which we're going to get into in a second. There are a few different plans there. They're all interesting. We've got option A, B, and C of things that he thought of which he could do. So without further ado, this is option A. Sending it anonymously. OP said, I like the idea of sending it to him anonymously, his dad, I assume. Maybe through email or something. If it is him, then no harm done, and he doesn't know it was us. Now, I'm not sure I personally agree with that. I think that would be opening a lot of doors. Here are a couple of comments from people down below. Somebody said, please don't do that. Your parents will be pooping themselves wondering what kind of pervert hacker has gone through their computer to watch their private videos. Yes, my thoughts exactly. If you get sent that anonymously, if anything, that's worse than your kids bringing it to you. If your kids bring it to you, yep, very embarrassing, but at least you know that it's still private, or at least only your kids have seen it. If it's sent to you anonymously, you're going to be thinking, oh my goodness me, my life is ruined. Who has access to this footage? And another Redditor backs that up. They said, but if it is him and you send it anonymously, he'll be freaking out about who has it and how they found it. Exactly. I think the only way this works out positively is if it isn't your dad in the video, and this method stops you from having to have the embarrassment of showing him the video. So it stops that, and it also lets him know about your mum cheating. But those two factors we're not sure on at all right now, so that doesn't seem the best thing to do at all in my opinion. Okay, option B from OP is telling dad about the video. If it is him in it, he'll know it's him, and won't he get mad at us for even looking at it? Is there a way I can let him know that I'm sorry I had to look at it, but it's only because we were concerned about him, so that he doesn't get mad? I think that if you are going to tell your dad, or you are set on showing it to him in any way, this is the way of doing it. Being honest and just saying, look dad, sorry, this is what happened, right? My sister was doing homework using mum's laptop, happened to come across this accidentally, of course, completely accidentally. Maybe don't say about the snooping, and just say, look, we're worried. It's embarrassing for all of us. Obviously, it's a shock for you. It's a shock for us. But this is what we've seen. I kind of feel like we have to tell you about it. Sorry. That, I think, is what I would do. And finally, on to option C. Faking finding it in front of dad. Okay, so what if we go up to him, says OP, and tell him there's something we need to show him on the laptop, and then while browsing it in front of him, we pretend to stumble on the thing for the first time. We can be like, what is this? And if he genuinely doesn't know and says, open it to find out, it means he doesn't know about it. If he's like, no, don't click on that, it means he knows. Okay, I guess maybe. So I guess instead of actually showing him the video in full, you just show him where the video is, the location of it on your mum's laptop, and the thumbnail as well, perhaps. I don't know. I feel like that's kind of a shot in the dark. It's weird if he knows exactly where it is on the laptop and recognizes the full video from the thumbnail, but who knows? Could be a good idea. I don't really think so. But out of all three of these, I'd probably side with option B, I think. But that's only if you guys are very, very sure that you actually want to tell him in the first place. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'd really, to be honest, study this video and try and work out, not in a weird way, by the way, but really study it, which is a horrible thing to think. Study the man, I mean, really try and work out and discern 100% if you can, whether this person is or isn't your dad. That is horrible having to watch this again and again, but genuinely, oh my God, it's so horrible. I don't know about that anymore. Oh, you get what I mean though? Like, you want to know. You want to take in as much information as you possibly can to let you know whether or not this is your dad. It's just a shame that the actual content of the video is your mum getting absolutely blasted. But there we go. Now, someone else commented down below. Dude, if you use one of the plans that you've put in this thread, or confront him with it, please post an update. This is gold. I cannot wait until your dad A, gets an anonymous email with his sex tape and thinks he's being blackmailed, B, finds out you've been watching him do the nasty with mum and is crazy embarrassed, or C, and my favourite option, you pretend to mistakenly find it while showing him something else and the whole family watches mum and dad's sex tape. Cheating women don't keep videos on the family laptop of them stripping and cheating. They're not dudes. And if your mum turns out to be the dumbest cheater ever, then all of this will expose itself soon enough. But she's not, so it won't. But I just want to see the cringe update, so I'm still rooting for C. That's actually a pretty good point, and I agree with that. Would OP's mum really be dumb enough to keep this in a place that's actually kind of findable on her own laptop? I mean, yeah, I'm sure that OP's sister did do some snooping, but if you really wanted something not to be found, you'd put a password in place, wouldn't you? Or you'd keep it on a hard drive somewhere else. You wouldn't just have it on your laptop, I don't think. I mean, look, we don't know how silly or tech savvy or just dumb OP's mum is, but that is my thinking. However, here is what OP and his sister actually decided to do. OP thankfully gave us this. No, here is what my sister and I decided to do. We're actually going to sit mum and dad down, tell them both at the same time that while we were using their laptop, we noticed there was a lot of junk and we were cleaning it up to make it run faster. In the process, we accidentally stumbled on this file and we mistakenly opened it without knowing what it was, but we closed it as soon as we realized. We won't tell them we watched the whole thing, and we won't tell them we suspect cheating. We'll say that the reason we're telling them this is because we think they should save the file in a more secure location, or maybe on a separate hard drive or something, so it doesn't get hacked into. If my dad knows about the tape, he'll be like, okay, that makes sense. And if he doesn't know about the tape, well, now he would. Okay, so that is everything from the original post. That whole original story and the comments that I read out and OP's sort of thinking there, option A, B, and C, were all posted actually back in 2016. April 27th, 2016, obviously a long time ago. Yeah, as I said in the intro, it's a crazy story. What a way to start the year. However, a week or so later, on May the 5th, 2016, we did get a definitive update and a conclusion to this one. And again, that is why I love this subreddit, because we actually know what happened. I, for one, am so interested to see what actually ended up happening. I will say just off the bat, I think that what OP and his sister ended up doing was actually quite sensible, right? I mean, all of that sounds pretty logical. There aren't really any holes I can pick apart in it. Yeah, it makes sense. You were trying to make your laptop run faster. As a kid, you might know more than your parents about this sort of thing. You notice there's a lot of junk, blah-de-blah, fine. And you come across this video. Wow. Okay, nonetheless, here we go. Are you guys ready to see what actually happened next? I know I am. Here is the update. Yeah, things didn't go so well, unfortunately. I kept arguing with my sister. I told her if she's so certain they're cheating, the least we could do is ask Dad first if he knows about the tape, but not mention that we've seen it. She was determined that it was cheating based on the hands and the feet. She was like, those definitely aren't Dad's. Okay, but then how do you mention the tape to your dad without saying that you've seen it? Right? It doesn't make much sense. But yeah, what your sister has said there, OP, is kind of what I was getting at. You have to analyze the videos, as brutal as it is, and really have a look at what few limbs of your dad's you can see. I noticed there that I've used the word limbs, plural. Let's carry on. I told her that she was creepy as frick. If that was them in the video, and God knows how many times she's watched it, she was basically watching a video of our mother naked effing our dad's you-know-what. Even if it wasn't our dad's you-know-what, it's still freaking gross. But she didn't care. I told her if I couldn't stop her, she should at least leave me out of it. I want nothing to do with it. She then went nuclear. She went and told them everything and embarrassed the frick out of herself. It turned out her little detective work was way off. It was Dad in the video. Okay, well, I think that's good news. At least your mum wasn't cheating on your dad. Our dad was angry, but mostly bewildered, but he just laughed it off and got over it. Our mum, however, didn't take it so well. She had a panic attack. She went nuts. She was like, what the heck is wrong with you kids? I tried to stay out of it, but my sister dragged me into it and named me as her accomplice, even though I'd warned her against it. Our mum was so hurt and upset, not only that her daughter would so brazenly accuse her of cheating, but that her children had watched an explicit sex tape of her. She was really traumatized. She couldn't take it anymore. She got up and left to her parents' house, where she's been there for a whole day to recuperate. She only called our dad to speak to. She won't speak to us. Our dad told us to just give it time until she's feeling better. Okay, and there we go. That is that. Goodness me. I do just want to give some overarching thoughts on this one. But first of all, I think I need to say this. I actually put a lot of blame on the mum here. If you've got a file like this, right, on your computer, your personal computer, completely fine, right? That is okay. Well, it's not great, but it's okay. However, if you're letting your kid use that computer and you haven't stored, as I said earlier, you haven't stored that file in a private location with a password protection or anything, just in a locked folder, and you know that your kid is obviously tech savvy, they're 21, you know, they know what's up, and they find this video, I don't think you can blame them. I really don't. Like, if you want something not to be found, don't put it on something that you're giving to somebody else to use. Like, free will. Yes, she's gone through maybe some more personal stuff, but ultimately you're giving her your personal laptop. I don't know. Yeah, it's not great of your daughter to do that, but ultimately, are you completely surprised and shocked that she's done that? I don't think so. I think part of the blame has to land on the mum here for taking that risk. Just put it on some hard drive or just don't give the laptop to your daughter. That would be my thing. Secondly, I know what you guys are probably commenting down below. The kids are weird. You see this video, why they're analyzing it over and over again. Why are they watching it multiple times? Why is the sister watching it multiple times? And I get that. And it's a struggle to argue against that. But I feel like once you've seen this thing once and you're then past the complete horror and shock of it, you would then analyze it and try and work out if it is your dad or not. I don't know. I have not been in that position, thankfully, so I don't know for sure. But do you get what I'm saying? It's horrible, but I feel like once you've looked at it for like over 2 seconds and you kind of know what's going on, you're past the point of just slamming it shut and forgetting about it. You have to then look at it and really work out what's going on, for better or worse. I don't know if you guys are going to agree with that, but it's a horrible thing. That's just what I'm thinking. I mean, yeah, ultimately, what a crazy way, as I said, to start the year with a story like that. My best friend says I owe her everything I have, including my boyfriend. Now, the original post for this one came on the 23rd of September 2018, posted in r/relationship advice with this title: My 24-year-old female best friend, also 24-year-old female, is too handsy with my boyfriend, who's 26, and I think it's inappropriate. I know I should be careful calling someone best friend in a post like this, but I don't know how else to call Jessie. Our parents are great friends, so we grew up together, and she kind of had my back in high school. Long story short, on the teenager food chain, she was on top, and I should be on the bottom. But nobody messed with me because I was Jessie's friend. Jessie is one of those people who requires attention. I never minded though. Nobody's perfect, right? But now that I have my first real boyfriend, she doesn't know how to behave. Every time we're together, she's really handsy, always touching his arms, running fingers through his hair, complimenting him. And now she's even started with the prank spankings on the butt, you know? I just feel really uncomfortable with it. Maybe it's normal. I mean, Jessie has a lot of guy friends, so maybe this is okay. My boyfriend never thought much of it either. Am I just overreacting? She is super pretty, so maybe I'm just jealous. Anyway, yesterday something really threw me off. My boyfriend had to do some work, and I had a book thing, a hobby, so we decided to meet later at a friend's house. They were getting together to drink and so on. My boyfriend finishes work early and calls me, but I don't really need him to come over to the book thing. I know he doesn't like it, so I just tell him to go to our friend's house. Then I start getting texts from Jessie, all like, "Girl, you gotta come to this party now. Your boyfriend is wasted. Lol. Lol, we're so drunk. You need to come and stop us. I can't behave myself if you don't get here soon." And so on. The book thing took longer than I thought, and I was just getting mad and madder. But I am a very non-confrontational person, so I deal with it. I call my boyfriend when it's over, because I don't feel like going to this party anymore. But I was his ride, so I ask him if he needs me to come and pick him up. He says, sure. I get there, and I don't even go inside. I'm ready to release the hounds of hell on him. But he gets in my car and he's stone cold sober. I ask him if he was drinking and then show him Jesse's texts. He gets super upset and says she was lying. He wasn't even hanging directly with her, but actually catching up with a friend who just came back to town. He says I should have texted him, letting him know what she was saying so that he could confront her about it. Since you don't ever seem to be able to give that girl some boundaries. Those were his words. Now I'm thinking that maybe I should just talk to Jessie. But maybe she was just drunk and annoying me because she wanted me there. I don't know. I mean, this girl was really nice to me growing up when she could have been a female dog. I don't like how she behaves around him, but at the same time, I don't want it to look like I don't trust her. Is there a polite way of going about it? Or should I maybe wait and see if this happens again? Or am I overreacting? Okay, so there we go. That is the end of the original post. Quick comments from me. Nothing crazy here. It's obvious. You're not overreacting. And yes, you need to tell Jessie that what she's doing is highly inappropriate. That is just my thoughts off the bat. But one day later, we got our first update. Here it is. Yesterday, I posted here about how my best friend Jessie is a bit handsy with my boyfriend and it makes me feel uncomfortable. I am very thankful to all those who commented, especially the ones who encouraged me to say something. I don't like arguments, so those were very important to me. Thank you. Last night, we were alone because she wanted me to help her choose clothes for an event. I was at her place, so I thought I should say something. I wanted to. I was very polite and I just said that I knew she meant no harm, but I didn't feel good about it. So I asked her if she could tone it down. I should have said stop, but I guess I'm weak. She didn't really say anything mean, but her attitude was a bit off, I think. She was looking at me in a scornful kind of way, and the way she smiled once I was done talking, it just felt weird. She didn't say anything else but okay. And we just moved on to choosing her clothes, and I left after. We were supposed to go and get something to eat, but she said she was tired. I'm not dumb, she was hurt. So I texted a common friend, more her friend than mine, and without getting into details, I just told him that I talked to Jess about something that was important to me, but that I was afraid she may have gotten the wrong idea from it. The common friend said, "Look, I don't want to get involved, but you should watch it." I asked what he meant, and he said, "Nothing, just watch it." A little while after that, he texts me back and says, "Changed my mind, I do want to get involved," and then sends me a bunch of prints of texts going back and forth between him and Jessie. It basically starts with him asking her if the two of us had a fight, because I was worried. He was kind with his words, I don't mind him stepping in. And then just a non-stop stream of her being horrible. She says I had a big mouth and was judging her behaviour because I'm a prude who doesn't know how to be around guys. How she taught me everything I know about having a life, and how dare I tell her what she can or cannot do, or how I should thank her for even having a boyfriend at all. Our common friend actually called her out for being rude here, and no friend of mine. After the prints, he told me, "I'm done with her. I give up, and you should watch it." He also said it was okay if I told her I had the prints. I didn't though. I didn't know what to say. I mean, she's not 100% wrong, but even though I know that, it really hurts to read those. This morning, I wake up and see she texted me late at night. She says she knows that our common friend, Pete, sent me the prints, and she didn't mean to be rude, but it's ridiculous that I am jealous of her, because if she wanted my boyfriend, she could just have him. "You want me to prove it?" she said. So, I'm being silly and should drop it, is what she meant. She ends it with kisses and a joke. So I don't know if she was being playful, apologizing, threatening, or being pragmatic. Whatever she's being, it's downright weird is all I'll say. I didn't answer her yet. I don't know what to say. Should I even say something, or should I just let it go? I wish I could talk to someone about this, but I'm very private. I usually go to Jessie with these things. Help! Well, all I'll say here, guys, is that, okay, have a laugh, bit of fun, joking around with your friend, but if you're then saying, I could steal your boyfriend anytime I wanted, just like with a click of my fingers, and if you want me to prove it, I just will. Yeah, that's very malicious and extremely odd behavior that is, not something any friend should be doing, clearly. Here actually are a couple of comments from one Redditor underneath that first update, which I think sums up what I'm saying here. They say, "It sounds like this person is completely wrapped up in their own head and has a serious case of overthinking their importance in life, especially others' lives. Obviously, we're all going to tell you to drop her because she's not a desirable person to be around if that's how she acts and talks to you in person and behind your back. This person thinks they own you enough, so they've decided to let you have your boyfriend? F that. Also, show your guy everything that's happened, because guaranteed she's going to go after him. And then OP actually replied here, saying, I suppose you're right. It just gets me, you know. It's a 20-year-long friendship. I keep thinking that maybe this is a misunderstanding. She didn't mean it, or she's going through a hard time and doesn't know how to deal with it. I'm just trying to make sure I'm not overreacting, so I needed some outside perspective. As for my boyfriend, I think he would turn her down quite fast. He doesn't really like her. He just hangs with her because of me. He's always saying that he'd rather not and all, so it's unlikely that they'd be alone together, but I will talk to him. Thank you for the heads up. And then one final comment from OP. Turns out she already went after him. I was stupid. To be honest, yeah, could have seen that one coming. This girl clearly has an agenda against you. Okay then, a couple of days later, we got the second update on September the 26th, 2018. My boyfriend is having sex with her. Oh my goodness me. A friend convinced some other friends to send me prints of text between themselves and either my boyfriend or best friend. They are pretty clear. I confronted my boyfriend. He looked lost, said he loves me, and it was just sex. He says that Jessie kept throwing herself at him, teasing him, and he said he didn't like her, but I still wanted to hang. He said he just had sex with her to see if she would move on and leave him alone, and that it only happened a couple of times. He says he won't do it anymore. He doesn't even like her. He loves me, asking me to please forgive him. Sorry, I've got to interrupt here. What an absolute disgrace of a man your boyfriend is, OP. What on earth is he on about? I don't even like her. Just having sex, even though I'm in a relationship. What a good bloke. From the text, once I finally made it through them all, I think that Jessie went to the party where me and my boyfriend met because she wanted to hook up with him. She had it bad for him, but he didn't feel the same way. She was trying to get him to break up with me and then to get me to break up with him. It worked. As of yesterday, he is a single man. In some of those texts, they're talking about some of the hookups. I feel like throwing up. I blocked him because he was still trying to get in touch. I ghosted her, but she just sent me a message saying she just heard what happened and, you know, this was probably for the best, right? And I feel like freaking screaming. I don't even know if this is an update or just me venting. Thanks for listening either way. I mean, that's some update. Goodness me. I really did not expect your boyfriend to stoop to that level, but wow, there we go. Now, once again, here are a couple of comments that I picked out replying to the second update with some good thoughts that I agree with and OP's replies. First of all, someone has said, well, yeah, I would just ditch that whole friend group and start trying to find new friends. My God, that is effed up. I completely agree. OP replied, yep, done and done. I think I'm being too permissive with the word friend. It was going on for months. Everyone knew, and nobody had the decency to tell me. It was only the one friend who wasn't even that close who stood up for me. Going on for months? Oh my word. Another commenter said, you also can't make her hurt. She has no respect for you and clearly doesn't care, so it will be impossible anyways. It would have the same effect as a drunk stranger telling you that you're awful. Yeah, it might make you angry, but you didn't care about that stranger, so what they say is irrelevant. Also, I can't imagine anything so utterly not worth your time. The delightful side effect of just ghosting is that they will stew on it. They want the reaction, but they get none. They realize they lost all their power and never get to know and feel that satisfaction that comes from getting the reaction you wanted. Great point. 100% phenomenal point, and also a very good analogy and simile with the drunk stranger. Because yeah, you're going to be like, well, it's a bit weird and annoying, but who are you? I don't really care. Clearly, Jessie feels the same way about you, OP, as much as that is a horrible thing to say. It is the truth. So yeah, I know you deeply want to get her back or anger her in some way, but I agree with this commenter. There's just no point. OP replied to this saying, I get what you mean. She is actually still texting me. I didn't mention one detail because it wasn't important, but we were all meant to be traveling together soon. My family paid for some of Jessie's expenses. She is messaging me about the vouchers since I have them all. This freaking woman can't even wait a day to ask. It's like she suddenly remembered she still needs me. I mean, I'm not giving them to her either way. The trip is off. Can't she tell? I'm very much thinking the silent treatment will be the way to go, I guess long term there. I think she just realized she needs me for the trip, and that's why she's been aggressively trying to contact me. Now she's saying that she liked my boyfriend first, and I was the one who stole him, so she is the one who should be mad. I know I should just block her everywhere, but is it petty that I'm having fun watching her squirm? I wanted to have the last word, but not saying anything is driving her crazy. Now, this next Redditor mentioned about what I said earlier, while reading to be fair, saying, he said he just had sex with her to see if she would move on and leave him alone, and that it only happened a couple of times. Says he won't do it anymore, doesn't even like her. He loves me, asking me to please forgive him. Lol, that is one of the stupidest things I've heard. It's like saying, hey babe, I jumped off a cliff because somebody was really pestering me to do it. Then they say, I feel for you, OP, but what an excuse. I mean, yeah, imagine saying that. Ugh, fine, I'll just have sex with you and then you'll leave me alone. Seems pretty likely. OP replies saying that they actually almost fell for it. How pathetic is that? He was saying he cared about me, it was just a mistake, he thought she'd back off, and I felt it was a bad decision on his part, but maybe it made sense and I could forgive him. Then he says something like, and I didn't even like her, you were the one who always wanted us to hang. And that is when my brain joined the party and was like, is he seriously trying to blame this on me? Yes. Yes, he is. He was trying to gaslight you. All right, then, a few more comments here from OP about the upcoming trip. I'm actually interested as to why OP thought that wasn't key information. Clearly it is, right? And also, have a look at this. The most disgusting part, OP says, is that it's a trip that we take together with my boyfriend and some other friends. So she really thinks I would let my family pay for her to go on vacation with my ex, who she cheated on me with? I'm starting to think this woman is sick. Like, for real. And OP has also here given us a little bit more context about Pete and his role in kind of proving, or I guess showing OP what was really going on. She actually says that it was all Pete really discovering the severity of the situation. After Jessie texted OP saying that she could get my boyfriend if she wanted to, I just answered back, what the F, Jessie? And she lolled as if it was a joke. But then Pete texted me, asking if I was alone. He was really kind and told me everything, said he had the proof and asked if I wanted to see it, and I of course said yes. So he'd actually gone after our friends and convinced them to send the screenshots, the prince. He's really well liked by everyone, and he was the one who said, that's enough. Pete is gay, by the way, just in case anyone jumps the gun like my mum did and think he did this because he's interested in me or something. He's not. He's just a decent person. I guess the point here being that everybody in the group, or a lot of people in the friendship group, knew about this. I mean, if there are screenshots between Jessie and other people in the group and your boyfriend or your ex-boyfriend OP and other friends in the group, and nobody is telling you this apart from Pete, who finally said, that's enough, OP has to know. I mean, what sort of friendship group is this? And yeah, it brings me back to another commenter from before who said, are these really your friends? Come on, you need to look for a new friendship group, and I agree. A little bit more info here on Pete. He convinced 3 other friends, OP says, to send him texts between them, the 3 friends, and either Jessie or OP's boyfriend so that he could have proof, because he thought that what was happening was disrespectful and somebody should tell me. There were prints of texts between 2 friends and Jessie, and 1 other friend and my boyfriend. They were pretty clear. Okay, so that is the number we're looking out for there. 3 friends, Jessie, your supposed best friend, and your boyfriend. 5 people who I presume you thought you could trust a lot, all going behind your back and knowing about this. Obviously, some worse than others, but still. Is it that much worse? One of your friends not telling you about this than Jessie and your boyfriend? I mean, yeah, they're the ones that are doing it, but by not telling you this information, they're withholding so much from you that they could easily just tell you. Like, I don't get it. Why not just tell you? Obviously, they're not as bad as Jessie and her boyfriend, but there are levels to this. It's like when there's a bully in school, right? And a lot of other people know the bullying is going on, but don't inform a teacher or don't tell someone to help out and, you know, help out the kids that are being bullied. They just stand there in silence. Who's actually more in the wrong here? Because the people that just don't say anything could stop the bullying in a second. Yeah, the bully's the bully, but there are other witnesses that could do something about it that are choosing not to. And in my opinion, that might be just as bad. All right then, a few more points from OP before we get on to the third and final update, which by the way, is coming up. Jesse especially, OP says, didn't seem to care about hiding it at all. My boyfriend's texts were mostly wondering if I'd noticed something and wanting Jessie to back off, while saying she was hot, etc. Goodness me. There was no 100% confirmation on his side. It wasn't a chat between him and one of his closest friends, so it was kind of generic, but when I confronted him, I said I had the screenshots without saying what they showed, and he just confessed. Now look, I really appreciate those screenshots. It was ultimate evidence. But I don't think they actually did it for me. It's a Pete thing. You'd have to know him to understand. He is the stand-up guy who is everyone's friend. He is a huge people person. I think they sent the prints because it was something for him, you know? He was the one leading the charge and dealing with consequences. If it were just me, I don't think they would have done it. All right, next up, a little sort of interlude here. An edit from OP, which is extremely wholesome, talking about Reddit as a whole. Here we go. OP says, I don't want to sound melodramatic or sappy or anything, but you all brought me to tears. We keep hearing about how it's insanity to rely on the internet for personal connections, but I just lost a boyfriend, a best friend, and a whole group of friends. And instead of feeling alone, I'm more and more feeling like, frick yeah, that was the right thing to do. I'll be okay. Yeah, it still hurts, but not as much as it would had I really been alone. I can't even begin to thank this sub. I really don't know what to say. Even on my previous post that didn't get as many responses, it was some of the comments there that made me approach the cheating thing, knowing I had to break up and move on. So it changed my life in this moment. And considering I'll be doing a lot of soul searching on toxic relationships, this probably changed my life for good. So thank you all so much for reaching out to a stranger. This community is so precious. Okay then, so here we go. The final update posted on October the 2nd, 2018. OP says, I said I'd come back if anything relevant happened, and here we go. There's a third update, so I reckon something has happened. My ex-boyfriend kept trying to get in touch through common friends. They kept asking me to unblock him and at least hear him out because he was really sorry. He loved me. He was a mess. He didn't mean to. Someone even went as far as to ask me if I was really sure it happened. They offered to send me prints of texts where he was talking about me so I'd see how he always had great things to say and how much he cared. But I've had it with the print screen drama for life and said no. To the ones who insisted, I told them I wasn't unblocking him. I had nothing to say or hear, and if they kept pushing me, I'd block them too. I ran into my ex-boyfriend at this book thing I go to, that hobby of mine. Maybe I'm being presumptuous, but I think he went there for me. He didn't really have any business there, but I'm just speculating really. No, that's not speculation, that's true. You said earlier that you didn't even ask your boyfriend if he wanted to come and join you because he doesn't like it. So yes, he was there for you, 100%. Anyway, the boyfriend asked if I had a few minutes for coffee. I said I was late, which was a lie. He walked me to my car. He looked so good, smelled great. He was so sweet. He was even wearing his hair the way I like it. I feel horrible because even after everything, I still like him. He apologized some more, said he knew I needed time and space, but asked if I consider giving him another chance because he would wait for me. He said he'd never talk to Jessie again and would act like they had restraining orders against each other. And I just found it really funny how everything he was saying required me trusting him, which I don't. So I told him I wasn't interested anymore and he should move on. I wish I'd said something snappier or wittier, but I had nothing. This was on Saturday and I haven't heard from him or friends since. I think that was that. Jessie also kept trying to talk to me. Like OP said in the comments, there was a trip coming up. It would have been me, Jessie, my ex-boyfriend, and a few friends. Since Jessie couldn't afford it, my parents paid for most of her expenses. I mean, yeah, the fact that she still now feels like she is owed that trip is just mental. She must have remembered this right after everything went down and panicked because I had everything. The vouchers, the emails, credit card info. She went crazy. She even showed up at my place. I wasn't home and my roommate told her to F off, exact words. I didn't block her at first because I admit I was having some fun watching her despair. I talked to my mum and she was amazing. She told me I should cancel everything even if it cost us money. It was fine. So I did. And for one last bit of print screen drama, I printed all the emails I got confirming cancellations and sent those to Jessie with the word bye before blocking her. Oh, that is lovely. My roommate's been amazing. We were never really close, and now I don't even know why. She cancelled plans with her friends to stay with me and invited me to go out with them next weekend. There you go. Lose a couple of friends. Well, friends in inverted commas. Gain a real friend. Your roommate. That's phenomenal stuff. A few of you suggested I see a therapist, and I did, yesterday. I really liked it. It was just one appointment, and I mostly just talked, but it felt good. She gave me homework. She talked a little about unhealthy and abusive relationships and asked me to think about my friendship with Jessie and try to point what was healthy and what was unhealthy about it. It made me realise that she was never actually really my friend. She was taking advantage of me for years, and she even had me thanking her for it. My therapist also told me about this saying, I think that's what it is, called the narcissist prayer, which goes something like, that didn't happen. If it did, it wasn't my fault. If it was, I didn't mean it. And if I did, then you deserved it. Which is totally how Jessie is handling this whole thing now. Wow. That is actually an unbelievable phrase. I like that a lot. So, good riddance indeed. And a final piece of gossip. Pete talked to me yesterday. He's checking up sometimes. He is a good guy. Again, he is gay, in case someone is still thinking this might turn into romantic comedy. I mean, to be fair, it would be pretty amazing if it did, but yes, he's gay. He said that Jessie was super sure that since I broke things off, she and my ex-boyfriend would hook up right away. But apparently he doesn't have the same plans, and that freaked her out over the weekend. Pete says he really is a mess and went out drinking hard 4 nights in a row to the point that he had to be carried home by his pals. And yesterday, they all went out for lunch at this burger place. Jessie was going to run her fingers through his hair or something, and he just pushed her away and told her to stop and to never touch him again. Great that now he manages to do that. Huh? Yeah, exactly. A little bit too late. I guess in the end, he really did like me in his sick way. The thing is, I don't want to be with someone who likes me in a sick way. I want to be with someone who likes me in a healthy way. I think I deserve that. I'm also thinking about taking the money I got back from the trip to go somewhere else by myself. I haven't decided though. Anyway, this will be the final update on this, since it's unlikely that I'll have anything new to add. Now, I think I just need some time to heal and let go, you know? I might come back in a few months if there is reason to do a yay, life is awesome now post. But I wanted to post this update now because I wanted to end this whole story on a bright note. And of course, thank you all again. You are the best. And there we go, guys. That is going to do it for this one. Another phenomenal story. And I've used the word phenomenal a lot in this episode and the last, but I feel like it's the most apt word, you know? Again, just great stuff. And what I love about this one as well is, I do say it enough, I know, but it does show the power of Reddit. And I agree with OP. People would say, or have said, and perhaps I used to say it in the past, that asking internet strangers for advice and, you know, opening up to the internet is weird and it's insane, as OP said, and it's not going to get you anywhere. Well, actually, no. I feel like, you know, with every passing year, people are now starting to understand the power that the internet has as a force for a community, that you can now build real relationships on here. And if you want some genuine advice, sometimes actually the best place to go is the internet. A subreddit like r/relationship advice, where people don't have a vested interest, they're just seeing things for what they are and can give you some real tips. You know, no bias, just say, this is what's going on. Jess is a narcissist. Your boyfriend's terrible. You need some new friends. It's tough love. But I think, as we can see in this situation, sometimes that is what people need. And yeah, I really hope there is actually one final update in a few months from OP saying thanks to Reddit and thanks to also herself being brave and dealing with this stuff in the right way. Her life is now awesome. How cool would that be? Am I the jerk for banning my wife from naming our baby after her dead best friend? Long story short, I am a 28-year-old man, and my wife, who is also 28, is estranged from her family and has been since a teenager. She met Eva in school, and they were inseparable, with Eva letting my wife stay over a lot, as well as providing a constant source of support. I met my wife at university. Unfortunately, Eva died suddenly a year into our relationship. I'd met her a few times, and she was lovely. My wife was understandably devastated. 2 years ago we married, and she took my last name, Brown. Our baby girl is due in the spring, and understandably my wife wants to honour Eva in her name. This is something that she has said throughout the relationship. I was happy with the idea of honoring her, and we've discussed baby names throughout the relationship and pregnancy. The leading name we were tossing about was a place name that had significant memories to them. Yesterday, she came up to me and said that she had a dream about Eva asking her to remember her by her name. She had some like this around the time Eva died, but none recently to my knowledge. And to memorialize her, our baby must be called Eva. I said, absolutely no way. She said, why not? And I reminded her of the historical figure Eva Braun, wife of probably one of history's most evil figures, and I reassured her that we will tell our kids about Aunt Eva and she'll always be remembered, but my wife refused, saying it has to be her name. She says that few will make the link to the historical character and she won't be bullied at school. Now, a little history lesson for everyone in case you didn't know. Eva Braun, spelt B-R-A-U-N, was then known as Eva Hitler, as of course she was married briefly to Big Adolf. I mean, I just can't say Big Adolf. Right, if I'm not... right. Okay, Big Adolf, as he was known colloquially to his best mates. Adolf Hitler, of course. So yeah, being completely serious, I do fully understand that OP probably wouldn't want his daughter to have the exact same name, at least phonetically, as you hear it, as the woman who Hitler married just one day before he unalived himself, right at the very end. Anyway, back to the story. OP's wife said she had fell out with the place name, and a family member has had a baby recently with a similar name, think Brooke to Brooklyn. I suggested things to do with Eva, such as her birthstone, or honouring her through a middle name, or even names that had Eve or Eva in, anything but Eva itself. She started crying and said that she won't name the baby anything else and it's the ultimate way Eva can live on. I said it's a terrible situation and if we had literally any other surname we could, but I literally can't. Not only am I extremely morally opposed, I work in a field where if there was wind that I name my child Eva Braun, my work could be at risk. She's saying I'm making excuses and not supporting her as she is putting in a lot of effort to having this baby. This resulted in a fight and now I'm on the couch for the second night in a row. Some of our friends are saying that I'm being dramatic, but my sister, who is the mother of Brooke, is telling me that if she continues to register the baby without her. To be honest, I'm leaning that way if she continues not to compromise. I'm really not sure what to do. Am I the jerk for not wanting to name my baby Eva? Okay, now that is the end of the post, but before we get on to my thoughts on this one, first of all, a couple of relevant comments. Someone below asked OP, can you use your wife's maiden name? OP replied, my wife is estranged from her family, of course, and was therefore very eager to drop her maiden name. She has said that name makes her think of her horrible past. I know she would not ever change her name back, let alone name a child with it. She is also really close to my family, who took her in as one of their own when we met due to her situation. Now we are in the UK, so yes, she could have kept the name if she wanted to, but she is estranged from her family and has been for 10 years. Her family don't know where she is or of my existence. She had a common first but a distinct maiden name, so she wanted to swap to my obviously rather common name, not only because she wants no ties to her name, but also so they could not find her, as they are very bad, dangerous people. This is also why we will not consider comments about swapping to her maiden name. Now, some people also asked about OP's profession and why people would know what was wrong with that, and yeah, maybe why his job would be at risk. OP says, I work as a history teacher in a very liberal school, and Nazis is a decent chunk of the curriculum for some of my older students. Not that I would share my personal life in depth to the students, but my colleagues and SMT would definitely ask about it. I hope to rise the ranks at the school, so I don't want to affect that. I also have a cousin who is one of my older students, so there is a risk of students and de facto parents finding out my baby's name that way if her friends ask. And finally, OP says that Braun is pronounced brown in German, so people who know history will know. OP says, yes, I am based in the UK and I teach the Nazis in my syllabus, and while my German is very basic and picked up from a couple of weeks of travelling, plus some of the vocab I've come across in my job, I thought that Brown was pronounced with a similar ow sound to Hauptmann or Augen. Correct me if I'm wrong, just curious. Okay, so there we go. That is it for the first post. Yeah, on the name thing, I'm not sure myself. I think the only real way to know is if you are German, get in the comments down below, enlighten us. Is Braun, I'll put it on screen right now, this pronounced like brown, or is it brawn? I'm pretty sure it is brown, it's not brawn. But yeah, if we could get some cold hard evidence from the German people out there listening or watching this, that'd be great. Now, as for OP, I will say that, yeah, I completely understand your viewpoint, my friend. I studied history and the Nazis in depth later on in my secondary education, and then I did history at university, and there's no way that my teachers or professors would ever dream of having any sort of name or any sort of tie that could be like make them look terrible or make them look weird or put them in a bad light, like back to them, if that makes sense. It's very, very unfortunate that this is the case and that Eva Braun had the name that she had, and she had the ties obviously to Hitler. But yeah, I don't think there is a world in which you can possibly have a daughter called Eva Braun as a history teacher who teaches about the Nazi party. It's just not going to work, sadly. And I do think that there are lots of other options that you could go down with your child's name that do include Eva, as you said, in some form. But yeah, don't explicitly say Eva Braun. And I think your wife has to understand that, surely. I mean, it can't get much worse than being a history teacher and calling your daughter the same name as Hitler's ex-wife. Surely that's just not gonna ever happen. Your wife surely has to understand that, no? And of course, I get it from your wife's perspective. Eva Braun, to be fair, not a massive name in the grand scheme of things. I think you'd have to have studied the Nazi party, well, not in depth, but I mean, not a lot of people know who Eva Braun is. I mean, I had to remind myself there, to be honest, and I studied the Nazi party. So, you know, not the biggest name of all time. No one's going to instantly click and go, wait, hang on, that's the same name as Hitler's wife. But yeah, as you said, you're a history teacher. You cannot risk something like that. You just can't. Now, of course, this is r/best of Redditor updates. Therefore, there is an update to this one. I really hope, before I get into this, and I haven't had a look at this, I hope there is a resolution, because this seems like such a stupid... first of all, it is very unlucky. But secondly, if there isn't a resolution here, then it is very silly and just sad. Now, the point that your sister made at the end about you just registering the baby without her, that is a terrible idea. I don't know why you say that you're leading that way. Is that what you just name the baby without your wife knowing the name? That's absolutely ridiculous. Don't do that. And I really hope that isn't what happens here. But that's some of the worst advice I've ever heard. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into the update and see what happened next. Okay, so here is the update posted 22 days later. Okay, soon after posting initially, I called up Eva's sister, Rose, as my wife, Lou, is really close to her, and I explained the situation. I know I shouldn't get people involved in marital matters, but Rose's opinion really matters to Lou, especially when Eva is involved. Rose agreed with me that naming a daughter Eva Braun would be harmful, and she mentioned something that we believe to be a game changer. One thing you must know about the late Eva, dear reader, was that she was a writer. She kept journals, which her sister held onto after her death. In one of these journals was a baby name list, where she gave 5 names for a girl and 5 names for a boy. Rose held onto these names when she was having children. One of her sons is named the top boy name, but she's done now and wants to give it to my wife. We believed we have to introduce this carefully, so we launched a game plan. The next day, I sat down with Lou and said on no uncertain terms would our daughter be called Eva. Braun is the only surname we have, and Eva is not something I'd feel comfortable pairing with her. As I mentioned in the comments, my wife is estranged from her family and often jokes that we got married so young, at 22, so that she could get rid of her maiden name. She agreed that our child would take our married name, but continued to stress about forgetting Eva. I also mentioned that by naming a child Eva, you'd be pressuring that child to live on for dead Eva, and that's a big burden for young shoulders. My cousin was named after a dead relative, and my grandparents often compared him to that relative, and that's not something I want for my own child. That seemed to resonate, and she admitted that pregnancy was bringing up old feelings, as she and Eva always said that they'd be pregnant together. I suggested therapy, and she started therapy last week. That's a very, very good point that I hadn't even touched on. Yeah, if you're calling someone by your best friend's dead name, someone you love so much and who, obviously, if they're your best friend, had to be a great person in your eyes, that is putting a lot of pressure on your child to live up to that person. They don't have to, of course, but surely that child's going to think about that. I then talked about mine and Rose's conversation, and she was very interested. We agreed that it would be lovely giving Eva the opportunity to name a child, knowing it was something she was seemingly passionate about, and have narrowed it down between 2 of those 5 girl names. Turns out the girl had taste. Being able to discuss baby names and thinking about our daughter as her own person has been a blessing, and I can see my wife is on the mend. I think this will be the only update, and I can't wait to meet my daughter. Thank you all for your help. Now, at the time of recording, that was posted just 9 days ago, so obviously it's a little bit too soon to know if that is going to be the final update. But it seems like it will be, right? And that seems like a perfect ending. That was exactly what I was hoping the resolution would be. Something else that obviously included Eva in some way, but wasn't explicitly the name Eva Brown. That is the perfect solution. I really hope that you guys stick with it. Your wife remains happy. I don't necessarily think she needs therapy and stuff, by the way. I think she just really wants to honor her best friend and was quite adamant that she wanted Eva Brown to be the name. That's it, really. I don't know if that calls for therapy, but hey, I don't know her. Not my call. However, yeah, Eva has in effect given you a short list of names that she loves to name your child. That is beautiful. Great story. But don't worry, there's another one incoming. Now, this post comes originally from r/true off my chest. I broke up with my fiance because of his family. I don't think I can marry him because of his family. I know people will say that I'm crazy, but my gut tells me I'm right. This was supposed to be the first time I'm meeting his parents. He has 2 sisters, a mum and dad. I was excited to meet my future in-laws, but it shattered. A few days ago, I met his family. Some things about them just didn't sit right with me. His mum is very possessive about him. Like, the first thing she said when she saw me was, "So you're the lady that keeps my son busy?" I know it sounds like a joke, but she said it in a condescending tone. Throughout the entire gathering, she was trying to avoid me. She'd get irritated whenever I got closer to my fiance. She made one very mean comment when I asked her for a piece of pie she made. She said, "I will not be able to fit in my dress if I eat any more of it." She deliberately made me sit far away from him so that she could sit beside him. I knew she didn't like me, but I tolerated that. But she was way too harsh on her oldest daughter. She keeps making comments like, "When are you getting married?" and if she still can't get over Ben, her brother-in-law. The thing is that the oldest daughter, Mia, used to date Ben until he dumped her to be with the younger sister, Jen. Oh my goodness me. Jen isn't very nice either. She was mean to Mia and kept bucking her to get a husband. Mia is 33. I don't think she needs to rush. Jen also didn't like me because she made some snide remarks about my upbringing. I grew up in an abusive household. I had to struggle a lot, whereas my fiance came from a well-to-do family. His dad didn't speak much. He didn't say anything, and he just nodded. The only normal person there was Mia because she just kept to herself. But nonetheless, I did not feel very welcome by them. I just had this gut feeling that if I get married, this will be my whole life. I'd always have to be in competition with his mother. But he is so nice and sweet. I never felt so in love with anyone like I did with him. He brings me flowers, he takes care of me, he treats me like a queen, but I do not like his family at all. I broke it off with him. He was understandably sad. He asked for a reason. I just told him I didn't feel good about our relationship, that we're not compatible. There were tears, but I left. Now I'm sitting in my aunt's house writing this. One moment I feel like calling him and telling him I had cold feet. We are perfect together. We earn well, we have similar hobbies, and we are sexually compatible, but this one thing about him just bugs me a lot. I'm heartbroken. I know I don't deserve to be because I was the one who called it off. Okay, let's get straight into the update on this one, which was actually posted on the same day that evening. I just talked to his sister Mia on the phone. It was a surprise to me that she wanted to talk. She got the news of us breaking up and asked if we could talk on the phone. I agreed. I was desperate to hear any news from him. We talked for like an hour or so. It was mostly her telling me how her family was toxic, that I made the right decision because her mum had a weird obsession with her baby boy. Also, she doesn't know why she is the black sheep of her family. She was not adopted, nor was she an affair child. She also mentioned that her mother was a bit of a racist because of where I came from. Overall, that day, she wanted to warn me. I asked why my ex doesn't treat her right. She said my ex is in delusion that they have a picture-perfect home, but he doesn't realise how toxic his mother is. She did bring it up with him, and he just said that they're family, so families shouldn't hold grudges. Honestly, I felt bad for her. She also said that she'll be going no contact with all of them. She thought she could salvage their relationship and let them be a part of her life, but she decided she doesn't want that. She also shared some personal information about her relationship status and future. But I don't want to share that. It's not my place to share it. She did though tell me to meet him and tell him the truth. He deserves to know why I don't want to be a part of his family. He needs to hear the truth. I'll be meeting him tomorrow, and yeah, as a lot of you guys requested, I will give an update. Okay, then let's get straight into it. 11 days later, we got the final update. Hello guys, I promised I would come back with an update, and I did it. I finally talked to him. I told him everything that I mentioned in the post, and also about my feelings for his family, especially how they treated Mia. Needless to say, he was upset. He tried to convince me that this was all in my head, that I shouldn't throw away our relationship because of his family. His family will accept me if I become a part of it. I tried to explain things from my own perspective, but he wasn't budging. Oh, that's not a good sign. Then the topic of Mia came up. He said it is unfair that even his sister is abandoning the family. He mentioned Mia's big news, and she said she doesn't want to be a part of their family. I told him I knew about it because I talked to Mia. That seemed to upset him even more. He's fuming that Mia shared her news to me before his family. I got angry and told him that this is exactly why I don't want to be a part of his family. Her mother made racist comments to me. I'm half Bengali. She treated me like an outsider and didn't make me feel welcome. His family is just very toxic. I grew up in one. I don't want to die in one. Maybe someday he will find a woman his mother approves of, but that woman is not me. We had a big fight. He was obviously defending his family. He was not willing to listen to what I had to say. Overall, he was very dismissive. We ended our conversation on a very bad note. I am sad about it. Aside from his family drama, he was a good guy, but I don't think I can handle his family. You don't just marry one person, you do marry their entire family. They didn't even bother to know me at all. Wow, there we go. That is the end of that one. I've got to say, very, very tough position to be in, OP. But I do think you made the right decision. And to be fair, your ex's comments there kind of confirm that that was the correct decision that you made. If he can't even understand, I get it, it's his family and obviously he loves them. But if he can't understand what you're saying, or the reason as to why his sister is abandoning the family and saying, you know what, I don't even want to talk to any of you anymore, I'm going no contact, then he is deluded. I'm sorry. He is. So I think you did make the right decision. And I also think that you're absolutely right. You do marry into the family. Now, yeah, I don't imagine that you're going to be seeing his mum all the time. And I'm sure that if you wanted to, you could probably minimize when you see her. But the truth is that you are still going to see her probably a decent amount, you know, Thanksgiving, holiday season, birthdays, barbecues, grandparents in the future, like babysitting your kid. You are going to see her a lot. And if you hate this person, and as you said, you come from a toxic family, you don't want to be in one for the rest of your life, then yeah, ultimately that is, I would say, a deal breaker. I also think that someone's family does say a lot about them. Now, obviously, if that family is terrible and they're amazing, and they openly admit that their family is terrible, and that's probably why they're amazing, because they've realized how bad their family are and they just want nothing to do with them, and you know, they're a completely different person to that. That's different. But if they can't see the fact that their family has faults and bad traits and that sort of stuff, yeah, I mean, they've been part of that family their entire life. It's likely that they're going to have some of the same sort of faults. And again, I feel like OP not admitting or seeing that his family has faults is a big red flag, as I mentioned. So it's sad. And I'm sure he's a lovely guy on the whole, but is he a life partner? Do you want to marry into that family? I don't think so. I think you made the right decision. But yeah, guys, let me know what your thoughts are. Did OP make the right call? Obviously, it's hard to know without loads more context, but from that little insight that we've got there, comment down below. What do you think? Comment either on YouTube or on Spotify, whatever you're listening on. You can comment on both those platforms. Let me know, did OP make the right decision? And why? My dad is pretending I'm not getting married. So, my dad has always been a very show-off person. Announcements about grades, telling everyone how great his daughters are doing, telling off my sister for having a job he can't show off. When he divorced from my mum, he was a good parent for a while. And then he met Eva. Eva is way younger, has had a lot of work done, and used to send him flirty messages when he was still married. They got married very early on in the relationship because they've known each other ages. She told him not to text us too much because we are adults. She checks his phone all the time. She forbade him from seeing us Christmas Day or St. Stephen's Day because he needed to be with his new family, and it would be disrespectful to her for him to see his ex-wife. Overall, she's been an absolute nightmare, and he follows everything that she tells him to do. Now, I'm getting married, and I told my dad that he is invited, but she is not. I've met the woman once, and I don't like her. Plus, I know my father isn't a great person and he'd be making jabs at my mum about being older than Eva, etc. To make it fair, my mum's boyfriend is also not invited, although he is a sweetheart. My dad's answer to my invite has been to pretend nothing is happening. I sent him a save the date and he sent me a thumbs up emoji. He hasn't asked me one question about the wedding, not even the venue, even though he told me shortly before meeting Eva that he was looking forward to me and my sister getting married and how excited he was. Myself and my fiance are different religions and cultures, so everyone's had lots of questions about how we are handling that. It turns out he hasn't told Eva I'm getting married, and he hasn't told anyone else. So he's just planning to say he has a work trip and come to the wedding. I don't actually think he's going to show up. I think he will say he is going to and then not show at the last minute, but my sister thinks he'll show up with her and make a whole scene because he told her Eva has just as much right to be there as your mum. Has anyone else dealt with something similar? Do I need a backup to walk me down the aisle? So there we go, that is it for the original post. Before I give my thoughts, first of all, let's get into some comments I've picked out. Someone has said, I just want to point out that your dad is in an abusive relationship. His new wife is cutting him off from his family, his support system, so she can have more control over him. He probably won't be allowed to go to the wedding because she is not invited, and probably wouldn't have been allowed to even if she was. Now, your dad is a jerk all on his own, but I think it's important to recognize that he's still capable of being abused and that it's happening. OP replied to this, yes, they both suck. He has always been a cheater. At least 3 other women during the span of 10 years that we have evidence of. And I think, no evidence, that he was cheating on my mum with her. So that's why she's constantly monitoring his phone and not allowing him to leave the house. We told him not to marry her and that her behavior is very concerning, but he seems very blind. Someone else commented below, it sounds like he wants to come and he knows that the only way of him coming without his wife is if he lies about it. He's risking getting caught to be able to go, which speaks volumes about their relationship. But if she checks his phone, you're causing further risk of her finding out if you keep messaging him about the wedding. Stick to phone calls so there's no record. I hope he can make it and there's no drama. To be honest, that was kind of what I was thinking as well. On the one hand, yes, he's a terrible person, we can see that. But it does also seem like he wants to come. OP replied to this. I rang him the first time to tell him I was getting married, and then sent him the save the date the second time, asking if he was coming. I didn't know that he hadn't told her at the time. I've got no idea why his wife wouldn't let him go to his daughter's wedding though, if she's as amazing as he says. And then finally, someone asked OP why his mum's boyfriend isn't invited. OP said, there's far more drama if I include him and exclude Eva. It's not worth the headache. My dad for sure will not show up if I invite my mum's boyfriend and not his wife. My mum understands that even though my dad is not the best dad ever, I still want him there. They haven't been together that long, so she's okay with her boyfriend staying at home. Plus, then he can stay with the dogs, and she doesn't have to worry about getting a dog sitter. Most of the family is going as well, so there's nobody else to look after them. Okay, so there we go for the first post. That was actually posted back in March 2023. And about 6 or 7 months later, we got an update, so stay tuned for that. We're gonna get right into that. But I have to just say, off the bat, I can't work out who is more in the wrong here. OP's dad or his new wife. Maybe they're both as bad as each other, I'm not sure. Get in the comments down below. Do you think that OP's dad wants to come to the wedding and is not telling his wife about it because he knows that she won't want him to come and he's gonna come, but he doesn't want anyone to know about it? Or he's making up excuses not to come and just doesn't want to come anyway? I'm not entirely sure myself. One thing I do know is that his new wife, and I agree with the first commenter there, is being abusive. She's so controlling. She's not even letting this man see his own kids. Now, you could say that he needs to put his foot down and just do what he wants to do. Maybe it's not as easy as that, or maybe he doesn't want to. I'm not entirely sure. What do you think? Get in the comments down below. But for now, let's move on to the first update. Actually, sorry, before we get into it, the more I think about it, the more I'm just thinking that your dad is probably a horrible person. He cheated on your mum so many times, and now it's got to the point where your mum, OP, is having to accept that her lovely new boyfriend can't come to your wedding because of your dad's new partner. You know what, nah, I think your dad is just a terrible person. Anyway, let's move on. So it turns out my dad ended up telling Eva about my wedding and telling her that she was invited to the wedding to avoid problems. She got herself a dress, booked a hotel, etc. My dad tried to convince me to invite her, but his biggest selling point was that he thought it would be an amazing time to introduce Eva to my mum and my mum's whole family. Why would he think my mum would want to meet this woman is beyond me, and that she would feel excluded otherwise. He always rubs his new family in our faces, even calling it his new family. He keeps cancelling every dinner he sets up with my sister due to some emergency involving Eva, or tells us to call Eva mum. Both me and my sister are way beyond the point of calling some random mum since we both moved out, and he's being ridiculous. Also, you guys already have a mum. He called me again and again, trying to convince me, and I said no, explaining that I knew the only reason he wanted to bring his wife to the wedding was to upset mum, and that I wasn't going to let the two of them do that. He makes jabs at my mum every time he's around her about how great his new wife is. I thought the whole thing was over until I sent him some information about the wedding, and I guess he started feeling guilty and told us that he booked the flight for Eva as well. And he booked himself on the same flight as my mum. He changed his whole flight plans just so he could be on the flight with her, so that my mum and Eva could still meet. AKA, he could rub his new wife in her face and try and screw with my wife's head by putting her down and making comparisons. And then Eva would just go off and shop while he was at the ceremony. I'm not sure if this is true, or if he was going to try and bring her to the wedding and hope she didn't get kicked out. I'm trying to convince my mum to change her flight so he can't get inside her head 12 hours before the wedding. I don't know if I should uninvite him. OP, come on. You absolutely need to uninvite him. Anyway, let's get into one comment that I've picked out, which I think is very important, and I completely agree with it. Someone said, "Oh my god, yes. What has your mum done to you that you'd facilitate hurting her? Why does he know so many details of your mum's travel plans? That's a great question. How can he possibly get on the same plane as her? How does he know?" OP replied, "She is the main reason I haven't uninvited him yet. She keeps saying I need to have a relationship with him and be more understanding. He knows because he asked, and we figured he was trying to avoid being on the same flight as her." Well, to be honest, guys, I just find this really sad. It just sounds as if your mum is a wonderful, wonderful person who's just been completely trodden on for who knows how many years by your dad. Yeah, obviously, the affairs are obvious. That is clear. But, you know, more minuscule things, like her just pandering to him, I can imagine, and him wanting to do something, her in reality wanting to do something else, but always having to do what he wants, etc, etc. You can see this sort of emotional abuse that must have been going on throughout their relationship. And I think it's come up here. The way she is still saying, no, you guys need to have a relationship with him. She's clearly a lovely person, but does she really think that? Now that she can clearly, obviously see that he's just a terrible person. Like, the plane thing sums it all up. He is actively trying to get his new wife on the same flight as his old one to rub her in her face. What a terrible person. What, and then she just goes shopping? Ridiculous. The only reason why he would possibly want to get on the same flight as her is just to show off. It's disgraceful. And look, your mum sounds like a wonderful, wonderful person, but I actually do think at this point you need to protect her and say, you know what, mum, he is not coming anymore. He's not getting the same flight as you. He's not getting any flight. He's just not invited. You can bring your boyfriend. I don't care. Like, I'll see my dad another time. That's between us. It's unfair on you. Now, there is actually one more update to this posted after the wedding that comes from December the 17th, 2023. Let's get into that. The wedding has happened. It just took a bit of time to update because it's my life and it all went south and was too raw to try to write in a coherent way. It still probably won't be super coherent. Oh no. Well, spoiler alert, my dad got uninvited. Well, that is good news, I have to say. OP then just quickly sums up exactly what has happened so far. My dad was acting weird around the wedding. Turns out he told his new wife she was invited when she was not. When it got close to the wedding and I told him to tell her, he got his wife a flight with him so she wouldn't feel left out, and then purposefully chose to be on the same flight as my mum so that my mum and his new wife could meet, in inverted commas. OP importantly then says he has a vindictive streak, so we knew he was trying to upset my mum. Alright, so the update. I asked him to change his flight because he had specifically asked me what flight my mum was on so he could avoid her. That's the words he had said. And my mum was flying with my grandpa, so it would have been quite hard to change their flights to avoid him. Okay, that right there just proves he's vindictive. Outright lying to his kids to be on the same flight as his ex-wife by saying, I want to avoid her. Disgraceful human being. My dad told me he'd changed the flights and that he'd invent some lie to tell Eva. He also said I was a horrible person for not believing him when he told me that he had not booked the flight out of spite, but he told my mum he booked the flight on purpose so that she could meet his new wife. And what reason would there be for wanting them to meet other than to be a jerk? True, and also, they could meet at any other point, couldn't they? Why does it have to be on the plane on the way to your daughter's wedding? Ridiculous. I thought the whole thing was resolved, and my mum really was adamant that she wanted my dad to be there because I don't have a great relationship with him, and she knew it would have meant the end of the relationship if I uninvited him. Fast forward to 2 days after the conversation. My dad rebooked his flight and sent me a message to say he had changed flights. Then that evening, he calls me. I answered the phone and I could hear someone screaming down it. It turns out that Eva got her hands on my dad's phone, read the messages where I asked him to reschedule the flight, and she rang me, shouting down the phone that I am unhinged, I'm a horrible person, I'm effed in the head. She said that I'm so weird because I'm in my 30s and I still talk to my parents. This one was really weird. Am I meant to stop at a certain age? And that I'm jealous of the fact that my dad has a new life. I was very calm and said that I'm sorry she is upset, that the issues around the wedding aren't really related to her directly, and that my dad was trying to upset my mum. I also said my mum's partner is not coming either, so it wouldn't be fair to have her there. She started shouting that my mum was a fat old cow, and I lost it. I absolutely lost it. In this whole thing, my mum has said nothing bad about Eva. I told her I never had any issue with her until now, but that she is a crazy female dog who is super controlling and that I was so glad I never invited her. Then I hung up because by that stage it had been 2 minutes of her shouting at me and I didn't feel like there was any point in talking any longer. The whole time this was going on, my dad was in the background saying feebly, "Oh no, don't be mad," at her, while she was shouting down the phone at me. Anyway, next day my dad calls me and says that Eva was upset because he didn't tell her about changing the flights and that I was awful for responding to her like that. He also said, "Do you really think this is my fault?" And I said yes. And he said, "Do you really refuse to take any responsibility? None of this would have happened if you'd invited her like I asked you to." And I said, does he actually think he has any say in my wedding when he didn't even ask me what type of ceremony I was having, never asked to see my dress, or get involved in any way, monetary or otherwise? He asked me if he was still invited, and I said, obviously not. He then told me to be careful what I wrote in my messages to him because she was monitoring his phone, and I said I'm not speaking to him again, so that won't be a problem. The wedding was good. My mum walked me down the aisle and there was nobody there to cause drama, so in the end it all worked out for the best. The whole thing was just a lot more dramatic than I originally thought it would be. We thought he might end up not coming because he was too entangled in his lies, but for sure I did not expect that call I got. And it was very close to the wedding when all the drama happened. Okay, so there was at least a good conclusion to this. The wedding went as well as expected. That is good. And ultimately, that is the most important thing. So as long as the wedding went well, I mean, look, there's probably always going to be some sort of drama around a wedding. That's good. We can at least relax a little bit around that. I mean, imagine if he'd come storming in last minute with Eva. That could have been truly awful for absolutely everyone. So that's a little positive at the very least. But again, the person who I really do feel the worst for in this is OP's mum. She just seems like such a kind, genuine person that has just been, as I said earlier, trampled on by OP's dad. It's so sad. She just deserves a lot better than this. But again, at least she got to experience a nice wedding of her daughter, walking her daughter down the aisle. Yeah, probably not what she imagined, but nice nonetheless. I actually feel worse for your mum, OP, than you, because I feel like you are just better equipped to be able to deal with this. You've shown throughout this entire story that you're pretty strong and you don't really necessarily care what other people say. If you think a certain thing, then you're going to do it. And I respect that a lot, even when it comes to people in your close family. Fair play to you. And I completely agree with what you've done at the end there as well. Saying to your dad, there's no point. I'm not going to message you anyway, so who cares who sees it? Your dad remains an embarrassment. Imagine saying to your own daughter, by the way, can you not text me? Because, yeah, my new wife checks my phone when I'm not looking and she might see it. I mean, come on. What is wrong with your life to say something like that? And Eva is obviously just a horrible witch. But yeah, I just hope your mum has a nice rest of her life. She is my favourite amongst all of us. Am I, a 38-year-old man, the jerk for cutting back on work to prove a point to my 30-year-old wife? My wife is usually an angel of a woman, but has recently gotten into a friendship with a woman whom I personally believe is a bad influence on her. Not in a patronizing way, more of a lay down with dogs, get up with fleas type of situation. I never said anything about her childishness or her very radical misandry because frankly, it doesn't affect me. Until it did. A few months ago, my wife began pressuring me to do more around the house. Before I get an instant "you're the jerk" here, we already split chores and childcare. Admittedly, she had a bigger cut than I because she is a stay-at-home mum, but I do most of the cooking. Breakfast and dinners, lunch is her responsibility for her and the boys. I take out the garbage and I do laundry, and I deep clean the bathrooms once a week. I do also help with our boys' homework and such. She insists that I am not doing enough and that I should be doing more around the house. I tried having discussions with her, asking what she expected from me. Namely, all chores and child rearing should be my duty, it seems. And for months, it seemed to be going nowhere. She used the D word more than once when speaking on this, which felt manipulative. I presume in this context, the D word means divorce. It boiled over when we were out with friends one night, and she began talking about how I never helped out and how I use her as a house slave. Those were her words. I will admit, I saw red. Now, this next part is where I may be the jerk. I didn't say anything that night, but the next day I asked my boss to be given reduced hours for the next little bit due to stress. And I took over everything in the house. I cooked breakfast and I made lunch for the boys before I drove them to school. I cleaned the house top to bottom. I did every dish we had twice and so on. My wife was blindingly happy and bragged to her friend that she finally had me worn in. She didn't lift a finger for around a month. Then she began asking why we never went on dates anymore, complaining that she wanted to get her nails done as they were growing in. I explained that I had to take that out of our budget so that we could continue to afford everything else. But we could absolutely have a movie night in and I could paint her nails for her. She was unhappy with that solution, so I asked her if she would want to get a part-time job for either luxuries. You would have thought I asked if she wanted to join a cult. She then asked if I could just pick up more shifts at work to cover her other expenses, and used the phrase, "be a man," which I found more than a little insulting. I then asked her if she would be willing to go back to splitting the chores and such, which is when she began to catch on that the two were related. She yelled at me that I was being a manipulative jerk for doing this, and even claimed it was financial abuse. I stood strong for a while, but now I am questioning my methods, because even I feel that what I did was a bit underhanded. So, am I the jerk? Okay, so that is it for the first post. Now, before we get into my thoughts about that, first of all, I picked out some comments from other Redditors asking questions to OP. Someone said, "Why are you still with her when she treats you like that?" A very valid question, to be fair. OP replies, "I love her with everything I got. She is an excellent mother. And honestly, before she met this friend, we were both blissfully happy to the best of my knowledge." Someone else said, "How did she suddenly notice that she wasn't getting her nails done or going out on dates? Did you block the credit card from everything but the grocery store?" "No," OP replied. "For one, she has her own card, though we do only have one bank account. I set her nail and hair appointments because she hates making phone calls, and she asked why I didn't take her out anymore. She could have spent from the card without saying anything, I suppose, but upon budgeting, we would have been in trouble if over 300 was gone from a night out with friends." OP also added a little bit more information about his wife and their relationship, saying she had always wanted to be a stay-at-home mum before we got together. I try not to say this part because while her two boys are not mine biologically, they are my sons. But being a single mother was incredibly taxing for her because working in the public was too much. I had a bit of experience with being a single father myself. I have a son of my own, but I was looking to advance my career and was more than happy to take over the bills for a lessened load at home. Now, another Redditor actually said this below, which I don't agree with, but I thought I'd mention nonetheless. "So you're paying to raise another man's children?" OP said, "I do not like this comment. Those are my kids, no one else's, and regardless of what happens with their mother, I hope those boys know that." Just, I guess, confirming how much he loves those sons as we move forward in this story. A couple of other people also asked if things have changed since they first got together, and OP said, "I can tell you, but it may be a little bit mundane. When we first got married, she would give me shoulder and back massages every day after work and have my favorite music playing when I opened the door, even though she hates bluegrass. She would make me coffee while I was getting dressed. She made sure to pick up extra crunchy peanut butter from the store, even though I'm the only person who likes it. We'd have movie night twice a week with the kids and a date night to ourselves once a week. I have always had trouble sleeping, and I don't want to take pills for it, so she always had the bed ready for me, a heating pad already turned on, my pajamas on the bed. She would run her fingers through my hair until I fell asleep, and would wake me up herself instead of the alarm because she knew it put me in a better mood. None of which I asked for. She is a good wife, and wanted to because she knew that's what I liked, and she did it. She hasn't done a 180, some of this is still true, at least it was until I cut down my hours. That was really when she stopped doing anything at all. And right now she's angry, so I'm on the couch, awake and regretful. Personally, I think she's stubborn. I don't think she even really wants it. She just wants to prove that I would do it if she asks. She has a troubled history with men, and that's why I tend to be forgiving when things do happen. And finally, someone asked, a troubled history with men? What do you mean by that? And OP said, it's not something I'm comfortable talking about, but believe me when I say, what happened was not her fault. Okay, so there we go for the first post. Now, there is an update coming, the first update, which was posted just 6 days later. But for now, my initial thoughts are that you are not the jerk, OP. I do feel like you're getting badly treated by your wife, and it's a shame that it's come to this point and things have clearly changed from when you first got together. I don't necessarily know if it's 100% to do with this new friendship of your wife's. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Ultimately, it's your wife's fault that things are happening like this, and she's got to look at herself. But yeah, for now, that was the initial post. Let's get into the first update. Now, this is where this story takes a little bit of a turn for the worse, really, and I guess gets a bit more serious. The title of this is, how do I explain to / help my sons to understand that their mother is going to rehab? I have never been in a situation like this. I am a former addict myself, but I didn't have children then. Now guys, OP actually briefly mentioned in another post that his wife and he recently had a blowout argument where she admitted to using 2 substances for several months and has agreed to get checked into rehab, which they are currently setting up now, as in at the time this was posted. By the way, on April 26th, 2023. OP continues, how the heck do I bring this up to my sons without them being judgmental or hateful to their mother? Or worse, falling into the same mental space that I am in. I don't want to lie to them, which is what my wife wants, but I am failing to see an alternative that won't destroy them or the respect they have for their mother. I'm swimming blind here, and I've barely slept since this all came out. Any and all advice is appreciated. Thank you in advance. Well, to me, it seems as if things have dramatically got worse over just a week. I guess this did just come out of nowhere, probably for you, and your wife put this on you during an argument, or at least opened up to you during an argument is a better way of phrasing it. But wow, as you can see, things have taken a turn for the worse. First of all, let's have a look at what people are recommending in the comments down below. Someone said, I think it depends. What was she taking? Clonopin and Adipex that she was buying from her friend. I wonder if that is the same friend. She also admitted to having tried coke and several other prescription narcotics, but those were the only 2 she did often. And then someone actually asked, was this the friend that turned her onto radical misandry? And OP said yes, though it's come to light that it wasn't misandry she was being taught, but flagrant drug usage. I've told her that she has to go no contact with this friend, or else she will be facing divorce along with everything else. And then finally, OP was asked how old the kids are. He said 9, 12, and 14. Right, let's get straight into the next update. This was posted just 4 days later on April the 30th, 2023. Titled, I yelled at my wife. I was driving my wife to the rehabilitation center we decided on. On the way, she was screaming at me about how she can't believe I'm humiliating her like this, explaining what was happening to the boys and making her message her dealer/friend that they would not be hanging out or using together anymore. About how she doesn't want to go and that I am a controlling monster, and how threatening her with divorce and taking primary custody of the boys was too far and I was insane. And I just took it and took it and took it until I just couldn't. And I screamed at her. I screamed that the woman I met would have rather died than had a pillhead junkie around her sons, and how she disgusted me, and that I don't know if she knew how much I was considering leaving her, not because of the addiction, but the way she was freaking acting, like she hadn't brought drugs into our home. Around me, a former addict myself, and around our boys, that I'm beginning to hate her for doing that. That she was becoming exactly what she always cried about her mother being, and that she was lucky I was here to see it before what happened to her goddamn sons. It makes me sick to say, but watching it sink in just how far she had spiraled felt good. Watching her realize that her actions have consequences was nice. She yelled a few more times that I was an abusive jerk or whatever, but she was still crying, so I felt her heart wasn't in it. I plan on speaking to a lawyer. I don't want to divorce her, but I don't know how healthy our relationship could possibly be after this. I know yelling like that was wrong, but I don't feel bad. And that is the part that makes me think that maybe I shouldn't be married to her anymore. For her sake and my own. I don't know what else to do. I'm so angry that she detonated C4 in every bit of our life. Now, unbelievably, below this, in a comment, OP said this: I believe I'm going to have to divorce her, and it's wrecking me. I don't want to. I still love her, but I don't know if I trust myself around her, and also not to use myself. I've been closer to relapsing this week than I ever have been. Okay, so that is it for update 3. And I've got to say, although it's kind of crazy and you could argue potentially hypocritical, given that you were the one that was angry at her in the first place for using the D word, divorce, now you're saying that you're going to have to divorce her. Things have changed a lot. I mean, it doesn't even necessarily matter that you are an ex-addict. Obviously, that makes it worse, but still. If she is bringing drugs into your home with your 2 young sons, then I'm sorry, but that is obviously grounds for divorce. Now, yes, you on top of that being an addict and being close to relapsing yourself, you've got to protect yourself as well as your sons, but it's terribly sad, but yeah, you have to threaten her with divorce at this moment. If things don't change, as you said, she's going to become like her mother, and your children are going to have a very, very tough time. Ultimately, she's got to go to rehab, sort herself out, and yeah, hopefully you can move on from this. But saying you're going to have to divorce her if she doesn't change, I think that's completely fair. Okay, so now moving on to the next update. This is update 3 now, posted on May the 12th. That is 3 weeks roughly from the first post. She was cheating. Right, before you read this, OP says, please know this is a vent post. I normally would never be like this, but I am beyond okay and need to get this poison out of my head before I go anywhere else with it. She was frickin' cheating. The drug dealing friend sent me frickin' videos of her dancing and grinding on this ugly hick looking dude. I am goddamn destroyed. The boys are staying with my mother for a few days and I'm taking the next week off work. I am so done. I've never been so angry in my goddamn life. She was so smug sending it. In case you don't realize you're replaceable to her. Well, the free ride stops here. I hope she can get on Medicaid for her Suboxone, LMFAO. I am done. I saved the video immediately and I'm going to see a lawyer ASAP. I can't tell anyone yet because I want to do this right. I mean, guys, imagine your wife's friend who has taken her down a terrible path is sending you videos of her cheating. Oh my goodness. Now, thankfully, my parents insisted on a prenup with what I at the time thought was an inhumane cheating clause. Never been cheated on before, and I feel like tearing my goddamn hair out. I genuinely never thought she would turn out to be such a scummy POS. I cannot handle this. I'm not physically able to handle this. I haven't been able to keep food down, and I drank for the first time in over a decade last night. Then I woke up and had to pour the rest down the drain because I'm about to spiral and my boys don't need both mum and dad in rehab right now. I'm so close to losing my goddamn mind. Also, believe what you want, but stop sending me private messages about how I should take down the posts or that posting about my personal relationship with my wife is wrong. Please, leave me be, it will not work. This is the only place I can talk about this stuff. That is obviously a message from OP to other Redditors who've been commenting and DMing him, I guess, giving him advice to take the post down or be a little bit more thoughtful. I completely understand. In his situation, he's clearly spiraling. So much bad stuff is happening. He just wants to vent. OP adds this as well, just a little bit of clarification about his children and potentially who his wife may have been cheating on him with. 2 of my 3 sons are stepsons, but I adopted them. They never had a father due to their bio dad being an absolute POS. My biological son is the youngest and was born to a girlfriend who is not in the picture and doesn't want to be. My sons are 9, 12 and 14. My wife had 2 jobs when I met her, though they were both terrible jobs, and I've been looking into finding her a better one. Now, when it comes to the dealer, she was getting the drugs from her friend, who is the woman, and a few of the men who she cheated on me with. Wow. Okay, let's move straight on to update 4 now. This was posted on July 19th, 2023. That's 3 months from the original post. Titled, My soon-to-be ex-wife is in the hospital after an unalive attempt, and I feel like a monster. Okay, wow. First of all, OP gives a quick summary about what has happened so far. The short of it is, OP was blind to his wife's addiction until she admitted it and went to rehab. While she was in rehab, I was sent evidence that she had been cheating, often, and with more than one person. I've been working on filing for divorce while she's in rehab. Not just for the cheating, but because with that on top of everything else, and myself nearly sinking back into my own addiction due to the stress, I couldn't stand to even think of her anymore. And there's no healthy relationship that has room for that mindset. I honestly didn't want to be in a room with her again, to try mediation or counseling, due to the fact that the last time I was alone with her, I raised my voice, and at the time, even felt she deserved it. I of course now know that me doing that was terrible and could be considered abuse, yet that is another reason I should not be in a relationship with this woman. I think OP is being pretty harsh on himself there. He's being screamed at and he's not allowed to raise his voice. I mean, come on. I moved all of her belongings to our guest room, minus the pills I found hidden in her bedside table. I took pictures of those in their hiding spot, then flushed them. I also removed her from my bank account and credit cards. I spoke to my boys, explained the situation without demonizing their mother to the best of my ability, and they seemed to understand that I have no intention of abandoning them, and blood or not, they were my sons. Then she came home. The boys were, and still are, away at camp, a birthday present paid for by my mother. She was quiet, eyes on the ground after the moment I picked her up at the facility, all the way home. Once we got home, I led her to the guest room silently, and she didn't take it well, crying before she could even take the first step. Throughout the next couple of weeks, I let her get settled, and though I stayed carefully neutral, I know she could tell something was coming, but I wanted to do it as fairly as possible, and I tried to let her get used to being out before I said anything, as that was one thing I myself hated about when I left rehab. Everything was flying at me so fast, I didn't have time to breathe. Finally, I asked her to sit on the couch, and I began explaining to her that I do not believe I can continue being married to her, and that I wanted divorce. I should have known her reaction was all wrong. She didn't say anything at all. She only nodded and cried quietly as I spoke. I explained that I did not intend to hurt her, but I could not be married to her anymore, and that maybe both of us should focus on being the best parents we can be. I told her I had no intentions of kicking her out, and that because of our prenup, the divorce should be cut and dry, and she should be safe to begin looking for employment now. And once she has a job, I will help her find an apartment. At this, she stood and walked to her room. I let her, because I thought she must have been overwhelmed, and this talk could wait. She didn't come out at dinner time, and I weighed whether I should leave her alone or not. Eventually, I decided to knock on the door and ask if she was hungry. Long story short, she had smuggled pills into my house somehow, or she had a stash I was unaware of, and had an overdose, and was dead for several minutes in the ambulance, and she's in a medically induced coma because the doctors aren't sure exactly how much damage she's done to her brain from what they've said. I feel like an absolute monster, like I am the scum of the earth, like I should have just said nothing, like I should have just dealt with it. Just held it in and stayed. I am responsible for this, and it kills me. I may not have the same love for her as I did, but I do feel so very sorry for everything she's been through. It's killing me. I haven't told my sons yet, and I'm debating waiting until they're back from camp so they can have a little more time without this on their minds on top of everything else. Okay, now I think this is where this one gets really, really difficult, and I'm going to need some help in the comments down below, guys. Get your thoughts in. For me, I understand why OP is blaming himself for this, but I can't get behind him saying that it's his fault, that it's killing him because it was, his doing and he should have been nicer and let her be, etc, etc. Like, I get it. When you're in the situation, you probably think that, and OP is clearly a nice guy and, even despite all of this, still clearly has a lot of love for his wife, and that is the reason why he's saying these things. Can he be the one to blame for this? Surely not. Surely not. Like, surely it's on her, right? And I get it, she's not in a place to be making these sort of decisions, but I don't know. It just feels wrong that he is blaming himself for his wife's actions. Let me know what you think down below. It's a very, very tough spot. What do you do in this situation? What do you do? There's no right answer, obviously, and it's an impossible spot, but still, I just feel bad that OP is saying that he was in the wrong and that it's his fault, because it just wasn't, in my opinion. Okay, someone asked OP below the 4th update, where is her family in all of this? Not my story to tell, he says, but she doesn't have much family alive. and the ones who are, she has no contact with. She has other friends, but I don't know which ones were enabling. They all know what's going on. I messaged all her friends, except the dealer, though clearly she knows now from messages she sent me. She hasn't shown up to the hospital though, possibly because she thinks I would throw her out, which I would be tempted to do, to be entirely honest. A couple of her other friends visit all the time. Yes, she's no contact with her mother, ironically because of her mother's addiction and bad treatment of her. The rest constantly insisted she should see her mother, and 2 times even took her boys to her mother's house without her permission. Now, somebody asked why he chose to say to her at that moment that he wanted a divorce. I wanted to do it while she was in rehab, but my therapist told me to reconsider, so I did. I was so angry when I found out about the cheating that I wanted to take her belongings to her dealer's house and leave them there, but I knew that was wrong. I knew that once my anger wore off, I would regret it. So now all I want is to get the divorce started and over with as soon as possible so that I can begin trying to pick up the pieces and move on with my life. On top of that, I didn't want to lead her on. I could tell that she knew something was coming because I can't even stand her touching me anymore. It makes me physically ill. If I had known she was going to try and unalive herself, I could have closed my eyes and grit my teeth and let her do whatever. But honestly, even now, after what she did, I know that isn't feasible for me. I still found myself wanting to start fights, to yell, and I know that I am not a strong enough person to be in a relationship with someone who hurt me that much, who disrespected me, my home, and my children that much, who took my own past experiences with drugs into account so little that she brought them into my home directly under the nose of myself and my children. Pun intended, by the way. This is as much kindness as I can afford to extend to her anymore for my own mental health's sake. Then 5 days later, OP added this on the state of his wife. She is not awake yet. I took the advice of some of the commenters and went to go and get my boys to see if they wanted to see their mother. I explained the situation to the best of my ability, age appropriate, and I asked if they wanted to see her. They all agreed eventually, but the eldest only wanted to go to support his brothers. I'm concerned about the anger he is building towards his mother, and I do intend to talk to him about it, but I also don't want to tell him how to feel or tell him that his feelings are bad and wrong. I was already working to get them into therapy, but I'm going to expedite that. OP added a little more after this on the cheating, giving some context around his wife's cheating as well, saying, there have been multiple pictures or videos of her dancing on and being appropriate with men since my initial post. I haven't blocked the friend because she sent me a large amount of proof of infidelity for the divorce. And in that post, the hick she was dancing on was a man. Perhaps people are confused because her woman friend sent the video. Perhaps the wording was bad. Yes, I do know that trauma is the gateway to addiction, as I am an addict and my own CSA from my uncle and general abuse from both my parents. I can't say I know what made her start using, but I can say I know she had a rough childhood and even worse teen years. And also, regardless of sexual identity, if I found out my wife was engaging in sexual acts with women, I would, of course, also consider it cheating. She was doing other sexually inappropriate things, but no, I didn't get any straight up sex tapes. I'd rather not go into it further, but I think you can get my drift. And now let's move on to the final post, posted on February the 13th, 2024, just a couple of weeks ago at the time of recording. That is 7 months after the first post, titled, My wife is dead. My wife is dead. I haven't updated in a while, and I'm sorry, but I'm sure you can guess why I wasn't feeling up to it. I know that everyone said that she was manipulating me or trying to make me stay with her, but honestly, even if that was the case, it didn't matter. Because the moment she woke up, we both started crying and talking, and we didn't stop for days. She went back into rehab for a little while, came out, and we did both couples and solo therapy for both of us. She seemed happy. She seemed better. And I'd hoped that the crazy was over, that we would just be happy again. I didn't update then because, frankly, I was scared how everyone would react. I don't do well at getting yelled at. She promised me that if anything happened, if there was anything she needed to talk to me about, she wouldn't hesitate. Everything was going well. And now, when I asked myself if there were signs she would go back or that she never stopped, the answer is no. Nothing except the fact that she had an overdose at her friend's house while I was working and died on her couch. The friend didn't even want to call an ambulance. Her boyfriend had to convince her to. I don't think either of them were arrested that day, but I know from the paper she was picked up a couple of months ago for selling. Everyone kept telling me to go to the police, and frankly, maybe I should have. But frankly, with the way the police act, it wouldn't do much good. Since then, I have been drifting terribly. I took up smoking again, something I quit before I got married because she hated the smell. I hate it now too. The smell, I mean, but the hand to mouth is nice. My sons are in therapy and are taking the loss as well as they could be expected to. The younger two talk about her a lot, but the eldest is mostly angry. I'm thankful he doesn't seem to want to say things to his brothers about it, but I always let him tell me anything he's thinking, even when it breaks my heart. I know that maybe everyone here has an idea of who my wife was, but one thing that you could never deny was how much she loved our boys. They were her pride and joy, absolutely everything to her. I miss her. I miss her so much it feels like a death rattle to breathe. There's never music when I get home anymore, and I hate it. I hate the quiet so much that some days before I go inside, I sit in the car and just cry because I know she won't be there. I haven't even been able to clean out her side of the bathroom yet. It hurts too much to think about getting rid of her perfume or her toothbrush. I haven't felt like writing for obvious reasons, but there's something that feels important now, so I will. Valentine's Day is tomorrow. On the way home from work recently, I caught myself calculating flower prices before I remembered that I have no one to give them to unless I put them on her grave. I remember being angry at how expensive roses were getting, and now that seems so silly. I just wanted to say, if you have someone you love, please cherish them. Do something extra nice for the person you love tomorrow, for my sake. Nothing crazy, but maybe you can dance around the living room to your song or read to each other. Something soft or good to let them know you're real and really, really there. I know that's so cliche and corny, and if Alex were here now, she would actively bully me, but sadly, the old guys were always right. Life is short. Isn't that a kick in the butt? Wow, what a truly tragic ending to this one. To be honest, I did not expect that. I could kind of gauge from OP's tone that there was a decent chance that she woke up from the induced coma, but coming back out, seemingly forging some sort of relationship once again with OP, at least having an amicable one. I mean, who knows if they were still going to get divorced or whatever. I'm sure they were, but, you know, on speaking terms, seemingly getting along. And then this, just brutal, absolutely brutal. Before this episode ends entirely, we do have some further thoughts to get to from OP to sort of, I guess, round this whole story off. But I've just got to say, it's just wow, absolutely shocking. It's just crazy. And yeah, I agree with what OP said. Life is short. Brutal, man. I guess the one thing that we have to do, all of us, me included, and you guys listening and watching right now, is do what OP said. Do something extra nice for the person you love tomorrow for OP's sake. I'm going to do it, man. I'm going to try. Because, yeah, it makes you think, doesn't it? Just like that, everything could be over. Absolutely heartbreaking. Somebody commented below this post, how about trying widow support on Reddit? OP said, I might. Honestly, thank you. Any kind of emotional support right now is going to be welcome. It's hard for me to be emotional around my boys because I hate to make them feel like they're ever in a position where they need to take care of me. The poor kids have been through enough without me losing it. But I've been such a mess that they've just caught me crying in my car more often than I'd like. Not to imply that I refuse to cry around them at all, just I hate them seeing exactly how much of a wreck I am. Someone else asked, are you in therapy? OP says they are, but it's a long process, especially considering I'm a former addict myself. The entire situation has aged me a decade in a year. Back to the crying, another editor said, as someone whose dad went through similar stuff, cry in front of them. It's okay. I can try, OP says. It just always makes me feel so guilty. I know I shouldn't, but I always just think to myself, what are you doing? You're meant to be taking care of them, not the other way around. I hate to think that they ever feel the need to walk on eggshells around me because I'm too much of a wreck to handle something. And I know that's a bad answer, but it's true. It just always comes around to the fact that those are my boys and I am their dad. I am supposed to be stronger than this for them. And I don't mean to imply that crying is weak or wrong. I just don't know how to turn it's okay to cry into it's okay for me to cry in my head. Then of course, I mostly mean now, after everything. At the funeral, there was no helping it. And for the first few days after that, I was such a mess. My parents came to stay with us because they were concerned I wasn't sleeping. That commenter replied, Yeah, you can't help your feelings, but I'm sure your little dude has feelings, and when he sees you not exhibiting those same feelings, he may think that those feelings are wrong, but that could be my own baggage. Do what you need to for yourself, my dude. But that just stood out to me. Opie replied, "Thank you, genuinely, I will keep that in mind. I hadn't fully considered that, if I'm being honest, but I can work on it." Now, to round off this story fully and conclude things, I'm just going to read a little bit more from OP that he left in the comments down below. "Not defending her is so hard for me, but that was the first thing my therapist told me when I asked about my sons, that defending her to them wasn't going to help, and that all I could do was let them talk. My eldest is the only one who really rages about it, but the younger two will eventually, I'm sure. I am also angry in this helpless kind of way that hurts so bad I can't stand to think about it, because if she had just talked to me, I could have helped her, and she would still be here. I am a former addict myself, and I know I made so many mistakes with my wife, but I swear it was like everything was so good again. We slept in the same bed again and had dates. Oh my goodness me, I didn't realize that. Everything in my mind just wants to scream and beg to know why she would do this, and I can't. Wow. So you guys were romantically seeing each other again. Oh, that makes it even more brutal. I can't believe that. I hate it so much," OP continues, "because I tried so very hard not to love her anymore when she was alive, and it didn't work then. I don't see myself doing any better now that she's gone, and it hurts even worse because when other people are mad or say negative things, I still want to defend her, to explain every little reason she had and why it wasn't all her fault. But in the end, it doesn't even matter if I do because she's gone. She won't be here to reap the benefits of that defense or even to care that I changed minds. She won't be here to be respected or disrespected. It feels pointless, but I still want to, and it makes me feel like a freaking moron." Okay, and there we go. That is it. That is where we're going to leave it. But before I go, I'm going to leave you guys with just my own short thoughts on this. I could comment on the family in general, on the wife, on the kids, on everyone else in this situation, and what we could possibly have done to have improved things and made this not happen. But I feel like realistically, without knowing the person and the people involved individually and really knowing them, as OP says, that's sort of pointless. So all I'll say is this. To OP, who I feel like I do know a little bit from just the general writing, your thoughts, how you've conveyed, what's happened and your own personal opinions and actions throughout this, I will say, I think it's terribly sad that you feel like any of this is your fault, because objectively speaking, it isn't your fault. Even if you weren't involved in the situation, you could argue that this was always going to happen. And I know that's a pretty tough thing to think about, but let's be realistic. Like, she was in a lot of trouble, and ultimately, you were the one that was actually helping her for a lot of this time. That is a fact. Now, the fact that you feel like you are to blame for any of this is just ultimately really sad when you were probably the person that was really helping her the most. I don't know what you guys think about this, but that is my main takeaway from this. OP is the one that's going to have to live with this for the rest of your life. And if you feel like you are genuinely to blame, that is horrible, because you're not. By the way, I completely understand why you feel the way you do, but it's not your fault, and it never was your fault throughout any of this. And I hope that for your own sake and your son's, OP, that you can move on from this and rebuild your life and find some positivity in the world. Am I the jerk for saying that I won't attend my sister's wedding if she invited our father? Now, this was originally posted on February the 11th, 2024. I am a 27-year-old man, and my 25-year-old sister is going to get married in April. They are already planning for their wedding. We grew up with our uncle, mum's brother. Our mum, who is 45, due to a stroke, wasn't physically able to do many things. She needed help, but it was more than enough. Our father, who is 53, was abusive towards our mum, but not us. She is physically weak, she has a weak build. My students might even be stronger. She's always been that way, even as a kid. This made it easier to mistreat her. After the court forced a divorce, he continued to contact us and, in air quotes, be there for us. I rejected all the money he used to send. My sister, though, didn't. She was contacting him and has a relationship with him. I asked her to pretend that she doesn't when mum is around. I asked my sister who will walk her down the aisle. Is it our mum, uncle, or me? She hesitated to answer, but said she'd invite our dad. We argued about that, and I said that if he took one step in there, I'm out. She said I'm being a jerk for giving her an ultimatum. She can invite the Pope if she wants, but I am free to not attend a wedding that makes me unhappy. Alright, let's get straight into some comments on this. Someone says, you're not the jerk here, just decline. She has already sold her soul for your dad's money. I wonder if her fiance knows. OP replied, I don't think he knows. My sister told him that I gave her an ultimatum, so he contacted me. He did sound like he didn't know. Someone else said, you're not the jerk. You don't have to attend, but don't give the ultimatum. Just decline the invite. Your sister is a grown adult and her relationships are her own business. OP replied, we had an argument about it. I said that I wasn't coming. She tried to say that I couldn't not attend her wedding since we are only 2 siblings, and eventually then I gave the ultimatum. Someone else said, you're not the jerk. Who she invites though is her business. What events you attend or not, along with the reason behind it, is your business. Was she not old enough to remember the abuse of your father, or is the money he gives her more important to her than her mother? OP replies, when the court forced a divorce, I was 13 and she was 11. I don't want to say that she valued the money more, but I don't know why she is still in contact with him. That is a fair point. How could you possibly be in contact with someone that did that to your mum? I personally could never do that. Another Redditor asked, is your mother also coming to the wedding? Because if she is, as I would expect her to be invited, that's an incredibly trashy position for your sister to put your mum in, especially if she just springs it on your mum without giving her proper notice. I don't imagine the stress of having to interact with your former abuser and see him lauded around and given all the privileges of an involved and loving father, despite not having had much part in raising the bride, would be good for anyone's health, let alone someone as fragile as your mother. You're not the jerk, by the way. Again, your sister has every right to invite whoever she wants to her wedding, and you have every right to choose whether or not you want to attend. Just be prepared for lots of guilt tripping and irreparable harm done to your relationship with your sister, though it is equally her fault if your relationship is damaged, as you seem to have always been transparent on your stance regarding your biological dad. OP says that he hasn't told her that yet. I don't know how to go about it because it did hurt me, but it surely will hurt her more, though my mum is good at enduring. I wouldn't be surprised if she agrees to attend and force a smile if my sister says she needs her there. And finally, someone asked, why do you keep saying that the courts forced the divorce? Wasn't the money he sent court ordered for your support? And how did your mother get full custody given that she is physically unable to care for you? The divorce was an order by the court, OP replies. My uncle was the one who filed the case, not my mum. She couldn't. The money was ordered but not exactly forced, meaning that the court told him to send insert amount to each of us. But neither my uncle nor my mum filed a case demanding money. They both said they are financially able to do that alone. At that time, she hadn't yet had the stroke, but she was injured. She was granted full custody regardless, which is unusual due to the circumstances, abuse, and some threats of his. Threatened to take custody and harm us if she tried. I don't know if courts always do that, but they listened to us and what we had to say. Okay, I think that's pretty cut and dry, to be honest. It's pretty clear that OP is not the jerk here at all, but I do also agree slightly with the commenters who said you can decide what you want to do, but also your sister can decide what she wants to do. It is ultimately her wedding. Now, that is a fair point, I concede, but I also really do have to question your sister's integrity and her as a person. I mean, can she not see that the abuse of her own mother is far more important than her getting a little bit of money from her dad? I don't know where her moral compass is, clearly not in the best spot. So personally, I would really try and reason with her and say, are you sure that you really want to do this? Jeopardize, well, I mean, to be fair, it's already too far gone. She should have stopped, like you did, talking to your dad at all years and years ago. Maybe that was the time to tell her that, you know, what are you doing? Why are you still in contact? Why are you taking money? You need to not take any money, like the rest of the family are doing, from this horrible monster. But nonetheless, maybe that time's gone now, and maybe, yeah, you just have to let her do what she does and don't give her an ultimatum. Although I feel like you're giving her an ultimatum on behalf of your mum, which is completely fair. It's not really you, is it? It's your mum and your uncle as well who've had to suffer through all of this. I don't know. I think your sister has to take a look at herself, but ultimately, yeah, it is still her wedding. All right, let's get into the one and only update on this one from February the 29th. So what is that? A couple of weeks after the initial post. I decided to tell my mother and uncle about my sister's decision. My uncle was mad. He did not expect her to decide to invite our dad, or even make him walk her down the aisle. He wanted to call my sister, but I told him not to. Not now, at least. We went to tell my mum, and she was confused. I had to explain that my sister had a relationship with him, but I told her to hide it and she was good at that. Until this age, my mother hadn't found out until I told her. Wow, was that revealed in the first post? Did I miss that? I don't think I did. I did not realize that. Your mum never knew the entire time about her daughter's relationship with her ex. That's mad. I told her about her decision and she asked, but why? I just said, I don't know. She looked disappointed because she wanted to attend the wedding, but now she's decided not to. I told my sister that we've all declined the invitations. She asked me to please convince them, but I refused. I told her to not try to make anyone feel forced to attend, not our mother. She did not respond and ended the call. Since then, I don't know whether she's tried to convince our uncle or our mother. I haven't heard anything from anyone regarding that. Not my sister, uncle, nor my mother. And there we go. That is the end of that one. I think it's best to leave that story with this one final comment. Someone says, hugs to your mother from a fellow survivor of DV. What your sister did was wrong. I'm not sure if there would be any coming back from this. You and your uncle can be there for your mother. Tell your sister that she better be careful about her actions having consequences that she hadn't thought about. You know what they say about karma. And there we go. I don't think I honestly could have summed this one up better myself. Completely agree with that comment. Now, speaking of actions that have karmic responses later down the line, let's get into our second story of this episode. I am a 29-year-old man, and my girlfriend, who is 30, did not tell me about her previous situationship with a friend that she was planning a 6-week backpacking trip with. This was originally posted just a week and a half ago at the time of recording on February 27th. My girlfriend and I dated for half of 2022, then broke up. After about 1.5 years apart, we got back together last winter and have been together again for about 3 months. During that year we were apart, she had a relationship with a co-worker who she was also living with. She called it a situationship. Also during that year, they backpacked several hundreds of miles of the PCT together. They both moved to separate cities last fall after the hike, but decided to remain friends and made plans to return to hike another several hundred miles of the PCT this upcoming summer. My girlfriend and I started talking again last fall, about 1 month after they parted ways. While we were talking, she invited me to join them over summer, and I planned to join for part of it, about 4 weeks. She never mentioned that they had any romantic relationship while telling me about her time living with him and his family, or her time backpacking with him. I thought they were just friends. Pretty soon after officially getting back together a few months ago, we were discussing boundaries, and I told her explicitly that I expected her to tell me if she had any romantic history with any friends who are currently still in her life, especially if me and her were going to spend time with said person. She acknowledged how I felt and I appreciated it, but didn't mention anything about them. Well, great acknowledgement right there. That's pretty much just like saying, yeah, you know what, I acknowledge exactly what you're saying, but I'm going to do nothing about it. A month later, we were discussing how the summer hiking trip would go with the three of us. They'd be hiking without me for the first couple or few weeks. We were discussing the tent situation, and she mentioned wanting to sleep in a separate tent to him during the part of the trip that it was the two of them. I was confused, and I asked why, since it made more sense for them to share a tent, splitting the weight of a 2-person tent, and then me and her could have our own tent when I joined them. She seemed kind of meh on the idea of them sharing, but didn't tell me why. In retrospect, it seems likely she herself wasn't comfortable with the idea of sharing a tent with a former partner without telling me about their history. She recently told me about their history, and I am very hurt. Of course, everyone has a right to their own past, and I don't want or need to know every detail of every guy she's ever been with, but I feel very betrayed that she would hide her history with someone that she was going to spend so much alone time with and invited me to spend time with them without telling me. To me, it feels very relevant to know this information when it comes to former partners who are currently in both of our lives in a big way. For example, spending 100% of every day together for 6 weeks. I directly told her I felt this way, but she ignored me and omitted the information. Exactly. It's not that big of a deal. In fact, it's not a deal at all that she had a past situationship with someone that is still in her life, even despite the fact they might be going on holiday together. You know, you can probably work through that. The problem is that she lied about it. That is the issue. I'm really hurt by what is happening and feel like it will be hard to trust her moving forward. From her perspective, I can understand that if she was afraid I would break up with her after hearing this, she wouldn't want to tell me, but I don't know why she'd be worried about that. I don't think there's anything wrong with being friends with your exes. She is good friends with another ex of hers. She would put him at 1 or 2 in terms of closest friends. She told me, and I'm totally fine with it. Exactly, there you go. I'm unsure about how to think about our future, and I'd love to hear some outside opinions. Thanks. All right, let's get on to the people of Reddit's comments. Someone said, she is going hiking with a former boyfriend with whom she lived with and broke up because they moved cities. A lot of red flags in the post. How is she acting after you told her how you felt? I can understand being friends with an ex, but this seems very extreme. OP says, I don't know the details of their relationship as I just found out today. I just tried listing the facts. I'm not sure exactly why they stopped seeing each other. I haven't talked to her about it besides hearing her tell me and apologize for keeping it a secret. She also said she knows it was very disrespectful and wants to do anything to keep us together. After she told me, I just said I needed space to think and I haven't contacted her since. The same person replied, definitely getting more context is needed. I personally think that one-to-one trips like this with a recent ex is a boundary I wouldn't be comfortable with, especially without knowing the details of their relationship. They were obviously at a stage that they were living together. Being friends with exes is totally okay, but this just seems strange. Like, have you ever met her ex? Is she FaceTiming and calling this person a lot? This seems like a trip that you would have with a very good friend, not an ex-boyfriend from under a year ago. Are they really that good of friends? Are you comfortable with that? Personally, I'd proceed with a lot of caution. I'd probably have a hard time trusting a trip like this, and I'm not even sure how you could set boundaries for this. Wow, I completely agree with everything that this user has just said. OP clarifies they were a situationship, as I wrote in the original post. She moved to a small town for work and couldn't find a place to live. He was a co-worker who lived with his family in this small town, and she ended up living with him and his family, and somehow something romantic came out of that. That's what I know. I'm not interested in asking her for more details. I've never met the guy. She texts him occasionally and recently complained to me that he hasn't been responding to her texts that much since he moved to his new city and got new friends. This is before I knew they were a thing. Okay, that is weird. She was also upset when he expressed uncertainty in joining for the summer hiking trip, which surely happened after he learned that I was the new boyfriend and that I'd be going. Oh my goodness me. Talk about red flags there, guys. Okay, well that last sort of paragraph there, that response is all I need to say this is very dodgy. Now, I think there is a world in which potentially, if you are so secure in yourself and your relationship, you can say, you know what, yeah, I trust you, go off. You can go on holiday for a little bit of time with an ex of yours. I'm not sure that I'd be able to do that personally. I mean, I definitely couldn't. I think that is over the line. I mean, yeah, being friends with an ex is one thing. Going on holiday under a year after you've been with them, very, very dodgy when it's a one-on-one trip. And yeah, I mean, the response we just had here from her ex situationship, whatever you want to call him. Oh, you know what? I'm actually not quite sure I want to go anymore if your boyfriend's going to join us. What was your plan the whole time then, my friend? That right there has shown to me what the real intentions probably of both of them are. But importantly, we do have an update to get into. Just 2 days later, this was posted by OP. I talked to her last night about the situation. She was very apologetic and admitted she made a huge mistake and betrayed my trust, vowing to never do that again. She said the reason she eventually told me was because she couldn't hold the guilt in anymore from not telling me. Interestingly, when I used the word lied, she argued with it at first, claiming she didn't, but then quickly changed her mind when I pushed her on it. I asked why she felt like she needed to not tell me about her history with him. She said it was because she knew I was going to get mad. She didn't bring up anything specific that I did to give a reason to think this, it was just a general feeling. She pointed out that she felt confused about whether I wanted to know about their history or not, because earlier in the same conversation that I told her I wanted to know which of her friends were exes, months ago, I also cut her off when we were talking about our year apart, and she started a sentence with, I had a lot of situationships. I got uncomfortable and I interrupted her, saying I didn't need to know that. I regret how I acted in that moment. I didn't yell or get mad, but I was uncomfortable and I shut down the conversation about that topic. I should have let her finish her sentence at least. And it probably made her feel that I was overly sensitive about her past. Okay, fair enough. She said that because of this, she thought I didn't want to know about the hiking friend from last year. To me though, it just feels like there's no inconsistency, not wanting to hear your partner say, I slept with a lot of people in the year we were apart, and wanting to hear them say, I slept with the guy who I'm friends with and we're about to hike with for 4 weeks. Also, if she actually thought I didn't want to know their history, then why does she feel so guilty not telling me? Great points. I'm on board with all of that. I'd also like to point out that our relationship in 2022 ended when I dumped her unexpectedly, and I treated her very coldly the night we broke up. I had a lot of pent-up feelings about how she was treating me that year. I can totally see how her fear of being dumped suddenly again had kept her from wanting to mention her relationship with this guy. It would make sense that she was afraid of me abandoning her again. Well, now I'm flipped back the other way. With every passing paragraph here, guys, my opinion on this whole thing is changing. It all makes sense, but the added context is really changing my thoughts. At this point in the conversation, I was understanding of what she did. She apologized in a way that felt genuine, and I felt like we could work through it. Then I started digging a little deeper to see if I was still missing anything about the situation. I forgot to mention in my last post, but a few weeks ago, she told me that her ex basically bailed on the hike for the summer. It was very likely he wouldn't be able to go. She told me at the time it was because he couldn't afford it. Around the same time, she also complained to me that he wasn't texting her back, and she was annoyed because she felt like he didn't want to be friends with her anymore now that they didn't live in the same city. Now, thinking they were only ever friends, I thought that made sense. I would feel sad if my friends didn't talk to me much after moving. Yesterday, when I confronted her about all of this, I asked again why he couldn't come, and she said again it was because he couldn't afford it. I asked her if she believed him, and she said yes. Then I asked her if he was okay with her inviting me on the trail. She revealed that he actually didn't like the idea of me coming, but he was mainly bailing because of money. I asked to read their text conversation about it, and she agreed. In it, her ex at first pointed out to her that he couldn't afford the trip, but then he also brought up that he didn't like the idea of hiking with me. He said he felt jealous, even though he knows that her and him were just a temporary thing last year, and he wished I weren't joining them on the trail because the PCT was their thing. There were a lot of words, but he was using phrases like, "I feel a pit in my stomach," and things along those lines. He also said he felt like a placeholder since their temporary relationship was sandwiched between me and her first dating in 2022, and then of course getting back together. She told him that she was upset that he couldn't disentangle their past relationship from their current friendship. She agreed with him that hiking the PCT was indeed their thing, and said that she wished I wouldn't come because she felt like I wasn't a great partner for the trail. I'm faster than them, and she said she thought I might get impatient, okay. Or at least that she could hike alone with him for the first half, and then alone with me for the second half, so that we wouldn't have to meet. The situation was finally made clear from reading their messages. She wanted to keep this guy in her life, even though he wasn't over her. He confessed all this to her a month ago, and she kept it a secret from me. She lied about the nature of their relationship because she knew I wouldn't be okay with them being friends, given that there was still something there. Also, a few months ago, before we were officially dating again, but just talking every day, when she initially asked him if I could join their hike this summer, she didn't use my name. She just said, "my friend." This is another lie by omission, this time to her ex, to prevent him from knowing the truth about the whole situation. Obviously, eventually she told him I was the friend, and then later he decided he didn't want to join. During the whole conversation that night, the point I was making was that her omitting their history in order to protect herself hurt my feelings and made me not trust her. And during the conversation last night, she tried again to omit information to protect herself, when she claimed that he only bailed because he didn't have enough money. I wouldn't have even known that he still had romantic feelings about her if I hadn't asked to read her texts, because she omitted that again. I dumped her after that. I respect myself too much to stay in a relationship with someone who is comfortable repeatedly lying to my face in order to get her way, especially about such an important topic so early on in the relationship. To those who gave insightful, nuanced advice, thank you. I learned a lot from this entire situation, and I know how to handle these topics better in future relationships. To the one person who suggested that I ask to read their texts, I can't thank you enough for helping me dodge this bullet. Wow, that is crazy. So it was actually a Redditor who commented saying, have you tried asking to read her texts? And therefore, obviously, you gain the context that you needed to realize that her ex was just not happy going as a friend, will probably never be happy being her friend. And yeah, obviously the whole time, if he's saying that he's going to be jealous, then this is just not a good sign. I agree with the reasons, by the way, for dumping her. Make complete sense. If someone's going to outright lie to you, this early on in a relationship. I mean, it doesn't matter when in a relationship, but it's not a great sign if it's coming this early. I was gonna kind of say that, you know what, if you did cut her off in the past when she was going to talk about her situationships and that's why she doesn't feel comfortable doing it, then maybe that's okay. But then you said, obviously, and you're right, there is a big difference between saying, oh, I slept with loads of guys when we weren't together, and failing to mention that one of her close friends was one of those situationships who she wants to go on holiday or hiking with and then include you. So yeah, overall, there's no way you're the jerk, by the way, and I completely understand your reasons for dumping her. My boyfriend slept with another woman and claims I wanted him to. My hands are shaking, so sorry if there are typos. I don't know if I'll be able to explain what just happened. I'm in a hotel room right now, just falling apart. I live with my 28-year-old boyfriend, Jack. I am 27. We've been together for 2 years. The relationship has been good. Sex is frequent, we say I love you often, and both of us participate in the other's family functions. I don't have any major complaints, and to my knowledge, he hasn't been unhappy. I am deeply in love with him. I came home today about an hour early. I started to get a migraine at work, which isn't super unusual. And once I started to get nauseated, I decided I should just go home and lie down. It doesn't happen a ton, but maybe a few times a year where I decide to take the afternoon off. My boyfriend works nights, so is often home during the day. I pulled in the driveway and his car was there. Not unusual, he doesn't work until the evening. I parked on the street out front like I always do. You can't really hear the car from that distance unless you're really listening, and went into the apartment. The bedroom is on the far side of the apartment from where I came in, so you usually can't hear a key in the lock or anything, especially with the air conditioning on. It was. I said hello as I came in, but could immediately hear that the air conditioning was on in the bedroom. It's a separate window unit and it's pretty loud. I opened the door to say hello to Jack, and there he is, right in the middle of having sex with a girl, doggy style. They both froze and she looked really shocked. He was just sort of expressionless. She immediately sort of scrambled for the sheets, but he just sat there. I guess I was in shock because I actually walked in the bedroom where they were and got my suitcase from under the bed. I even said excuse me to the girl screwing my boyfriend. I went to my closet and threw a bunch of clothes in the case, and all the while he's constantly talking. I can't remember everything he said, but I distinctly heard him say, I wanted to surprise you. We've wanted to spice things up in the bedroom. I didn't say anything and I left and I came to this hotel. Now, we have discussed having a threesome in the past, and I even said I would possibly be open to it at some point in the future. I told him I found the idea exciting, but that we would need to discuss things and find the right person if it was actually going to happen. I never wanted him to just surprise me out of the blue. He's been blowing up my phone ever since. He's left several voicemails and sent about a dozen texts. He said things didn't go like he imagined, but he thought it would be sexy to have a spontaneous threesome. He said he was trying to fulfill my fantasy. I've been crying for the last 3 hours. I've got no idea what to think at this point. I think he's lying to me, but what if he really thought he was doing what I wanted? Is it possible he's just that clueless? Please, please help. Now, I think this is one of those sad, awkward situations really where all of us from the outside looking in know exactly what is going on here. And we can tell that, you know, this guy has just been absolutely caught, right? And he's just trying to make up an excuse on the spot. And to be fair, I mean, it's not the worst excuse. He's tried with all he can to think of something to save himself. Now, it's quite clearly, obviously not what's going on here. We can tell that. But that is why I feel bad for OP, and that is why this is sad, because they're so in love with this person, clearly. So in love with Jack, who, by the way, isn't me in this story. Let me make that abundantly clear, despite the fact that we share the same name. Yeah, you know, she just doesn't want it to be true. She's not sure herself, but in reality, looking at it objectively, it's so obvious that everything that Jack is saying is complete BS. Now, thankfully, a lot of the comments at the time on this post said the same thing as that. And yeah, 2 days later, we got this update. Firstly, thank you all for your comments and advice. My gut knew that I had to end the relationship, but I needed a kick in the pants to actually do it. The apartment we live in is actually owned by my uncle, with whom I am very close. I lived there for free while attending grad school. It is part of a building he owns and was his way of helping me afford to further my education. He had no problem with my boyfriend also living there, on the condition that he help out with managerial duties and repairs around the building. I called my uncle and told him the circumstances, and he called Jack and told him he needs to find a new place to live. He's not on a lease or anything, so hopefully it won't be a legal issue. I haven't responded to Jack in any way since yesterday. I returned to the apartment this afternoon after going to the doctor to get tested for STDs, thankfully clear so far. Jack was there. Since he spoke with my uncle, he knew that I was breaking up with him and wanted him out. He immediately tried to argue with me, saying once again that the whole thing had been intended as a gift for me. I just ignored him as I went around the place packing his things. Yeah, what a gift to turn up unannounced at your own apartment and see your boyfriend having sex with a random woman. Lovely. He also said that the only reason he started without me was that he wanted to get used to the two of them together so things wouldn't be awkward when I arrived. Apparently, he thought having sex with her first would make the threesome go smoother. I didn't even look at him. I just kept packing. I'm proud of myself that I didn't cry. I think I was past the point of crying. He kept blabbering on, saying that he just wanted to test the waters with the other person so that when the time came, they could both focus totally on me. The final straw was when he said that I was being totally unreasonable and ungrateful for the effort that he was putting into our sexual relationship. I stared at him for a minute and then I just started laughing. I couldn't control it. I must have laughed hysterically for a full minute. He got angry but finally shut up and stopped trying to justify himself. I asked for his key and then told him to leave. I said that he could call to arrange a time to come and pick up all of his things, but not to contact me for any other reason. His parents live in the same city, so I know he has somewhere to stay. He left looking pretty forlorn. I didn't ask how long he'd been cheating on me. Just knowing about the one incident was enough. He's obviously not the person I thought he was. I don't feel like I even know him anymore. I'm still sad, but I'm going to be okay. There's no way I could keep someone like that in my life. Thanks again for all the encouragement and motivation to end it for good. I knew the truth in my heart, but I needed to know I wasn't crazy. Well, what a start to the episode. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't expecting to wake up today and read a story in which a cheater, when caught, said, I was only cheating so it wouldn't be awkward between us. Wow, I mean, what an excuse. But there you go. Now, this story was actually posted in 2014, almost a decade ago now, in June 2014. So there's not going to be any updates to this one. I just hope that 10 years down the line now, where we are, OP's having a great time and has found someone that doesn't make stupid excuses like that. All right, without further ado, let's get on to our second story now. This one is mental. I am a 26-year-old woman, and my best friend, who is a 23-year-old woman, might be in love with my husband, who is 26 as well. Where do I go from here? I'm posting this on a throwaway because my husband stalks Reddit. Also, I know he isn't cheating on me. He's at home more often than not, and I have full access to his electronics, as does he to mine. My husband and I have been together since we were young teenagers. We got married last year and have a 6-month-old daughter together. She is the light of both our lives, as we both came from broken homes and want a better life than we lived growing up. My best friend came a few years later. We used to live in the same neighborhood and casually began to hang out. She lives with both her parents and siblings, and she is studying to get her bachelor's degree. At first, she didn't like my husband. She said that he was clingy and tried to insert himself into our friendship. What the frick? She was civil to him because he was my romantic partner. For context, my husband is bipolar type 2, autism and PTSD, and it causes him to be a little socially awkward and miss certain social cues and taboos. I love him regardless of it all. Over the last few years, we've been hanging out a lot more. She comes over for a few drinks, we go to movies, and even visit local attractions together. All three of us have a good time, and my husband does try to make nights for just the two of us often too. However, last year my husband and I found out we were expecting a child together in January. I was working and fell ill because at the time I was working at a fast food place. I threw up and went to the doctor. Come to find out, I was 8.5 weeks pregnant. My life changed and I'd become more busy to get myself ready for motherhood. My best friend saw me less and less and we couldn't talk as much. My husband and I got married almost a month and a half after discovering we were going to become parents. That is when our dynamic changed. Recently, I applied to school and I'm currently in college trying to get a law degree so I can become a paralegal and get to law school. I'm also a stay-at-home mum while doing college too. I've been super busy. One day, my husband gets a text and it's from my best friend. She asks if they can talk as she was upset. He took the phone call with me protesting and a few minutes later said, Sandra, that's me, we need to go get Carla, that's my friend. Her father is picking a fight with her. I get upset as we were watching a movie together and I just gotten the baby down for bed. We go to her house, which is about 20 minutes away, and she stays with us for a night. As I get our daughter back down to bed, Carla asks to cuddle with the two of us in our bed. I was hesitant. I have issues with claustrophobia due to a traumatic experience as a child. My husband gave the go-ahead. We settle in for the night. Carla's dad apologized and she heads back home. Once she was gone, I blew up on my husband. What he did was not only inappropriate, but was disrespectful to my boundaries. Ever since, when she has an issue with her dad, she calls my husband and vents. One day, while my in-laws were staying with us, my mother-in-law overheard a convo with my husband and Carla. She was concerned and asked me if I was okay with it. I said, no, not really, but every time I bring it up, he gets defensive, saying that she needs help, that she's going through a hard time, blah blah blah. It is important to note that my mother-in-law was cheated on in the past by her ex, my husband's father. We are also extremely close, and she sees me as a daughter. She hates cheaters with a passion, and my husband, who I will refer to as James, was using the same excuses his father did. She asked to speak to him privately and walked to our living room. They got into a heated match, and James apologized to me. He said he didn't know that it was hurting me and causing issues in our marriage. I asked him, how would he feel if I'd asked him if another man could sleep in the same bed with us? He kind of deflated and tried to say, it's different, blah blah blah. His stepfather, Mark, spoke up and said, it is the same. You're just uncomfortable with it. So is she. Quit with the excuses. Now James respects Mark quite a lot actually. Mark raised him since he was 8, as his own father was in and out of the picture. Once the dust settles, my husband truly apologized to me for his actions and said that he would do better. I kissed him, and that was that. However, I wouldn't be right here if that was the end of the issues. Lately, Carla has been calling him 3 to 8 times a day. She says it's because she's bored and has no one else to talk to. I snap. I call him out over the nonchalance about the situation. How when she calls, he answers. How it's making me feel like a third wheel in my marriage, etc. His response? She's just lonely. You're letting it get to you. That night, I slept in the living room. I'm starting to suspect that she is trying to monopolize his time. She calls him for over an hour each time. They talk, she complains about her life, etc. Almost like she's his girlfriend or something. I'm starting to find this relationship troubling. It's getting to the point that it's affecting my marriage. Where do I go from here? Any advice would be appreciated. Okay, and that is the end of the post, but we do have a few edits from OP. First of all, thank you everyone for the feedback. I'm gonna have a talk with him, with his mum involved. He won't listen to me if I don't. Wow, that's a serious red flag right there. He's only gonna listen to the points you're making if his mum is in the same room? That is weird. OP continues, I'm tired of fighting him over this. I should have an update with a resolution in a couple of days. I'm going to read everyone's responses more thoroughly. Thanks for the advice. Now, edit 2. My husband and I had a sit-down talk. His mother and stepfather weren't available. He promised that he would explain everything in detail. I called Carla and she said that we could talk Friday when she wasn't busy with school. She had something she needed to air out. I'll have an update on Friday, hopefully. Edit 3. I woke up to a text from Carla this morning. She actually wants to talk to me tonight, alone, as her schedule has changed. We're gonna have a heart-to-heart. Hopefully I'll have some news. And finally, edit number 4. I need some time. I'll post an update later on. My heart is hurting. My husband and I are getting a divorce. Thank you for understanding, everybody. And then a broken heart emoji. Oh my goodness me. Now let's get into a couple of good comments on that original post. First of all, somebody says, you've set your boundaries and he continues to cross them. Is this how you want your marriage to be? A very, very fair question in my opinion. She won't stop as long as your husband responds to her every time. And OP replies, you're right. I do have issues standing up for myself. Somebody else says, does he not understand how badly that reflects on him, that he is unwilling to explain his own actions to his own wife, seeing the pain and distress you are in regarding this situation? Or does he simply not care because actually he has feelings for her? In my opinion, if there was no cheating involved, he could have reassured you about that, but explained what was going on with Carla was a personal matter that she needed to share with you herself. OP replies, sometimes he thinks I'm too emotional. I have PTSD and BPD, and he doesn't understand my disorder. He doesn't understand that I feel things intensely or passionately, or that it's super easy to hurt my feelings. He never even tries to understand me, autism or not. Honestly, I'm considering cutting my losses and going through divorce anyway. It's not worth the emotional anguish he put me through each day. Okay, you know what? Let's get straight into the update. Now, the first post was posted very recently, actually, on February 27th of this year, 2024. And then 2 days later, we got this update. This update is hard. Everything about this situation sucks, and I don't know if I will be okay for some time. The baby and I are currently staying with my friend Tanya. To start, James and I are getting a divorce. Carla is no longer a friend to me or our mutuals. The betrayal is too deep for her to be friends with our group. As most of you assumed, James and Carla are indeed having an affair. Oh my goodness me. Sorry, let me just interrupt real quick. Maybe I'm being naive here, guys. Maybe I am. I actually just didn't expect that. I genuinely didn't expect that. Now, 3 to 8 calls a day, yes, you could argue that's quite a lot. Fair enough. But I just didn't actually think that was going on at all. I just thought that he was just, being weird, chatting to her a bit too much. But in reality, he was just trying to help her out in a tough situation. But I probably should have realized, just from the bed thing alone, having her come in your bed to snuggle up with you three. I don't know the exact, structure of how that worked. Who was in the middle, for example. Who was big spoon, who was little spoon, and who was medium-sized spoon. These are all things that I need to know. So if you are watching OP, get in the comments. Let me know. But in all seriousness, guys, get in the comments. Did you know this was happening? Was this really obvious? Did I just miss it? I think I probably did. Anyway, let's get back into it. The affair started about 3 months ago and just turned physical 1 month ago. They were planning on just up and leaving after James served me divorce papers. They used the ruse that he was helping her through emotional issues to hide the fact. I was crushed. She wanted to clear the air before it got worse. That was when she dropped a huge bombshell. James was going to try and get me to terminate my rights to my child in order for Carla to adopt her. The reason? My borderline diagnosis a few years ago made me unfit to be a mother, and he was sure that the courts would agree. She then handed me 2 separate stacks of paperwork and left. I am contacting a lawyer as I'm writing this. I was seriously hurt. You guys were right. Carla was a snake and only told me this so she wouldn't feel guilty. However, I'm not letting my soon-to-be ex-husband bully me into termination of my rights. I called him afterwards and got very heated about what was going on. James just sat there in silence. I was crying afterwards. I pleaded with him to tell me what I did wrong. For a little bit of backstory, I had a near-fatal complication with my delivery of our daughter where I bled my entire labor. I had to have 2 blood transfusions and haven't fully recovered from it. I was not cleared for any extraneous activity for 3 months, including sexual activity. James was getting unsatisfied with all my doctor's appointments and not getting the sex that he wanted. I was hurting and ended up needing another procedure to remove some placenta that didn't naturally come out. I had to have my tubes tied because if I have another child, it will kill me next time. James wanted at least 2 more kids, and this put an end to his plans. I married a monster. We were together since we were 15, and this is how he repays me? I thought I knew him. He was acting so caring and nice to me. I am absolutely heartbroken. I'm not even sure if I'm going to update this anymore, but if I do, it'll be after the divorce settles. Thank you for all your concerns. I'm going to step back and take some time to adjust. There's no chance for a healthy co-parenting situation. I'm fighting for primary custody with supervised visits. Carla will not have any access to the baby, as I'll ask the judge to make a clause preventing her from interacting with my daughter. Thank you for all the advice. Also, I forgot to add that I contacted his mother and Mark this morning. They are furious that James is doing this to me. They are helping me foot the cost of a lawyer because I'm a stay-at-home mum and college student. They've kicked James out and he is now staying at our old house with Carla. He did give me the courtesy of getting my stuff and didn't put up a fuss about me taking what I wanted. He told me that he will keep in contact for divorce proceedings. Wow, what a climax to that story. Goodness me, I'm lost for words. Here are a couple of comments from other Redditors that are able to convey their point a lot more succinctly than me right now. Someone said, "Why did you leave? He's the jerk. He's the one that gets to leave." Well, it's his house, inheritance. He only let me stay as a courtesy, OP replies. His parents didn't know the full story, but now that they do, he overstayed his welcome. They are so angry. I'm not sure if his relationship with his mum or stepdad is salvageable. Someone else said, what stands out is that he's threatening to use her bipolar status against her, despite being a parent with bipolar type 2, autism, and PTSD. This dude is evil and inept. I didn't say he was smart, did I? Replies OP. But with me having no financial way to support my child or a stable home, he does have slightly better odds. I'm still in contact with his mum and stepfather. I'm hoping they'll give me a place at their house for the time being. I feel like I'm being intrusive at Tanya's home. And then finally, someone said, I am sorry you are going through this situation. As people say, trust but verify. You are relying on his parents, but be aware that they are his parents. You need to have a support system that doesn't include them. OP though says they have no one else. My family turned their backs on me. I have no family members who can help. Well, there you go. I did warn you guys in the intro this was going to be a pretty sad episode, but my word, that is just devastating. What an ending to that story. The one thing that I just have to say, right, and I'm not married, I'm single, and I do think to myself, how can you go, right? So, surely you think you know someone, right? You guys in this story were together since, 15 years old, you said? You met at high school. You're now 26, so you've been together for 11 years. And after all that time of you thinking that this is going to be the person I assume that you're going to marry, be with for your entire life, they do something like this to you. Like they flip on you this much when you nearly die having your child. I just don't get it. I just don't understand how you can not know someone to this extent when you've been with them for 11 years. It's just very worrying, concerning, because I don't know how you could ever trust somebody. Reading stories like this makes me think, even if I'm with someone for 10 years and I feel like I know them so well, everything about them, 100%, their character, etc., they could still do something like this. Or there are people that could still do something like this to me. It's just very, very concerning. And I'm sure that a lot of you guys listening and watching right now have been in situations like this where you feel like you know somebody and you're with them perhaps, and then something will come up like this and you have to just reevaluate and re-question everything you thought you knew about them. Crazy stuff. But yeah, if you have any stories like that that you want to share, get in the comments down below. Am I wrong for cancelling our wedding? We have been engaged for 3 years. My fiance just went on a trip of a lifetime, 6 weeks in Europe. She decided that she would take a break in our relationship, allowing me no input in the decision. I called her the day she left and she had me blocked. So I cancelled our marriage and her moving in with me in March. She called me today to inform me of her arrival time on Thursday morning, to which I answered, what does that have to do with me? And I've since blocked her. Just to explain a little bit further, I was fine with her trip. It was with her old college sisters. In fact, I dropped her at the airport and took her to boarding. That is when she dropped the whole break thing on me. She didn't explain it, just told me matter-of-factly and left. I called her the rest of the day and tried to call her when I was able to the rest of the week. After 5 days of ignoring me, I'd had enough and the wedding was off. She can move in with someone else because it's not going to be me. Wow, no messing about with this post. Let's just get straight into the update. Well, update-ish, says OP. We have a group chat among people close to us. Today, I informed them all that our marriage is cancelled and our relationship is over. I did that at about 10 a.m. By the way, this was posted just 1 day later on February 28th. The chat quite literally exploded. It started with questions about what happened, which I answered honestly. At about 2 p.m, she started just asking me to call her so we could discuss this. I told her that talking on chat is perfectly fine, but she said no. This is something between just us. I still haven't replied to her latest message from her, which was at 6 o'clock. Please put me up at the airport so we can talk this out as we planned, she said. Instead, I answered, that was your plan, not mine. None of this was my plan. Her flight is at 9 a.m. I wish her luck. Okay, now let's get into some comments to try and further understand exactly what is going on here. Somebody asked, exactly what did she say to you before going on the trip? OP says, she said that for the duration of the trip, we are taking a break from our relationship. I got angry and of course asked her, what the heck does that mean? She said we'd talk about it when she got back. She waited until she was boarding to tell me about the break part. I was okay with the trip up until then. Again, she was going with 5 girls from college. Somebody replied, that is absolutely wild that she did that. Has she done stuff like this before? No, this was a first. I felt very ambushed for her telling me about the break as she was about to board for her flight out. Someone else asked, please follow up. Unless she is still blocked, what is her reaction? I guess if it were me and my partner wanted to take a 6-week break like that, I would dump them too. If I was asked why, I would say that they had been blocked from their life for 6 weeks, and I decided that I wasn't okay with that, and much more. But what about your family and friends? Is anyone trying to defend her? Yeah, it seems she's called a few friends in our circle. They started blowing up my phone last night, asking what is going on. Someone else asked, does OP's family know? And OP said that he told his parents immediately and they were shocked. With our friends, I waited, and I shouldn't have, but I was embarrassed and depressed. I spent most of the last few weeks feeling sorry for myself and pain shopping. I sent out a message to our group chat informing them that our wedding and relationship are off, and my phone has been blowing up ever since. Someone else asked exactly what happened with OP being blocked on social media and his ex's social media presence over those 6 weeks. OP said he was blocked everywhere that he could think of, and that this is from a woman who posts pics of her breakfast. So she posted no pics of a huge 6-week vacation. It's a straight up cover up. Oh wow. That's clear that something fishy is going on. And then finally, on getting the ring back, it was OP's grandmother's, so of course he wants it back. He has a plan. He's going to make it a term of her getting a face-to-face talk like she wants. And yes, it's going to be in a public place, thinking of a coffee shop. Okay, a lot to unpack there, clearly a lot going on. I think the best thing to do is get straight into the second update, which comes 1 day later, February 29th. First off, I got my ring back and it's safe with my mum. Secondly, I would like to thank everyone for keeping me grounded while I was doubting myself. I'm not sure who said it, but someone said that I shouldn't bother with what she did in her trip and focus on her breaking up with me at the airport, which I did. And it was not what she was prepared to argue about, so now she knows how it feels to be blindsided also. It seems her college sisters told her I would be insecure and fight about something that I couldn't hope to prove, so when I didn't, she had no idea what to do. At one point, she excused herself to go to the restroom and didn't come back for 20 minutes. It seems the brain trust was at a loss too. Somebody asked, did she attempt to explain or justify her springing a brake on you as she paused the plane or blocking you on everything? OP said she even tried to change the subject to what happened on the trip instead of just to what happened between us at the airport. That is what she was prepared for. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. It's clever from OP actually, good tactics. If you just don't even talk about the trip, because realistically, it's not actually that important what she did, more the fact that, yeah, she just blocked you, said, I'm breaking up with you for 6 weeks, then didn't talk to you that entire time. Who cares what she got up to? That, I agree, is worth breaking up with your fiance over. Someone else asked, and I think this is a good point actually, how far did you let her get? I admit I am a little interested in the story they came up with. I agree, because right now we have no idea, first of all, what they were doing on holiday, and secondly, what sort of excuse or what fake story they were going to come up with to try and get you back. I'm not even sure what the plan was, but yeah, I would have loved to hear an excuse. But OP says, I told her what she did after she broke up with me wasn't any of my business, so I couldn't care less. Have her parents reached out, someone said. Spoke with her parents last night. They woke me up. They must have forgotten about the time difference between coasts. They offered to pay for couples therapy to help us work through this rough patch, as her mother called it. I told them, no thank you. She ended our relationship. Do her parents know the truth? Well, my ex told them a watered down version where I am overreacting, but then I told them exactly what happened. My ex made out that while on vacation, she would be unavailable to communicate with, whereas I told them exactly what she really said. Someone asked, has OP checked her social media since? I, stupidly, I know, checked to see if I was still blocked on her socials. And amazingly, yesterday, she posted 30 pictures from her trip and a full recap of what they did and saw. The pictures are of places in France, Italy, and Spain. Most are group shots with all 6 of them like tourist style ones, and others are churches and museums and a few shops, all during the day like a tour or something. Just to confirm who her friends were on the trip, these were her college sorority sisters that chat on Facebook Messenger, but they're few and far between. I've only met 2 of them a few times, and they were nice enough to me. OP continues speaking about his ex, saying, it's funny how a woman can do creepy stalker stuff, and it's fine. But if a guy does the same thing, he's going straight to jail. It's baffling to me. His ex is leaving letters for me with people she knows I will interact with, like the security guy at my building, my receptionist at work. The letters themselves are little more than pleading with me to not throw us away for nothing and professing her love for me. Yeah, great point. Imagine if that was the other way around. you'd be charged with some form of harassment or, stalking or assault. I don't know, but yeah, you're getting charged with something. Opie then says that he's heading to Scotland for a vacation. He's leaving on Monday, and my old college roommate lives in Edinburgh, so I'm going to do some pub crawling with him and see if Scottish food is really a dare. Not entirely sure what he means by that, but the editor of this episode is Scottish. I wonder if he knows what a dare means, or if Scottish food is really what people say it is. Also, I would like to thank everyone for helping me stand back up. I was depressed and feeling quite worthless. I leave tomorrow for my first trip across the pond, I think they say. I'm going to nerd out with my buddy and explore Edinburgh, which in the pics I looked at seems amazing. I'll try to keep my Reddit family updated as much as I can. Once again, thank you all so much. And now we have one final interaction between another Redditor and OP. This person asked, has she tried calling you again? She is blocked, OP says, but keeps asking in the group chat for me to please call her. I've got to say, I love how a lot of this sort of debate and argument is happening in a public group chat. Well, at least public with your friends, and you're not just doing this in private. It's good for you, to be fair, because you've done nothing wrong, and you might as well let everyone else know what's going on and make it even more embarrassing for her than it already is. Oh, look, OP actually continues here. She is starting to take a beating in the group chat. It seems the shock has worn off, and our friends are realizing how screwed up what she did really was. That same Redditor replies exactly what she deserved. She keeps apologizing, but it's not what she is apologizing for. She can't even defend herself without making it worse, which would be funny if it wasn't me on the receiving end of this trash. And if she doesn't drop out of the chat group, our friends are really starting to give her stuff about it. She keeps saying she's sorry and that as soon as I'm ready to talk and work through this, she'll be waiting. But she's now confirmed that she did ghost me, since she apologized for it on our group chat last night. She's spinning that she was getting nervous about the wedding and wanted some time off to think. And therefore, because she was so nervous, she decided to go away without telling you for 6 weeks with some random friends from college and just block you and everything and not even speak to you. That is great logic. I think realistically, we probably all know what's going on here, right? She just wanted a break from you. I mean, she phrased it as that, but in reality, I think she just wanted to go away with her pals, probably technically cheat on you, and therefore maybe get away with it because she was on a break, although she enforced it herself, and then come back and just settle for you and move on and continue with your life. Completely deluded, of course, but I do feel like that was probably what her weird sort of plan was. I don't know how she ever thought that was going to work, and it didn't work, but I think that was her idea. Let me know in the comments down below if you agree with me on that. That's just what I was thinking throughout the entire thing. I've got to say, absolutely stupid from her, but a funny story. Although, yeah, I do feel bad for OP. That is Reddit. Anyway, let's move on. I've got another phenomenal wedding story for you. Am I the jerk for yelling at my sister-in-law at my wedding and telling her no one cares that she is pregnant? Now, this was originally posted on February 20th, 2024. My husband, who is 30, and I, a 26-year-old woman, got married during COVID. We couldn't have a big ceremony because of restrictions, and unfortunately, my family couldn't be present as they live in a different country. With restrictions finally lifted, we decided to have a more traditional ceremony in my home country with my family. My husband's family came, his parents, some friends, cousins, and his sister. Now, she is 32, we'll call her Sarah, along with her husband, who is 28, we'll call him Matt. Sarah and Matt live on the other side of the US than the rest of the family. They had their wedding a couple of months back in their home state, and even since then, when we have a conversation, even without our wedding coming up, Sarah would say that she and Matt are planning to get pregnant on the trip for my husband and I's wedding. No big deal, I just made sure to tell her that she needs to ovulate for that to happen, but other than that, I couldn't care less. What started to get annoying is when we were talking about all the activities or excursions that people wanted to do so they could go ahead and book it, Sarah would always say, make sure there's enough time for Matt and I at the hotel so we can get busy making our baby. Again, kind of gross, a little annoying, but whatever, they are grown-ups. I've got to interject here and say I was not expecting this from the title. I thought she would already be pregnant. This is just so weird. Anyway, about a week before we all leave to go to my home country, Sarah and Matt arrive in our home state to spend time with the family as they rarely see them. My husband and I, his parents, and my husband's brother and sister-in-law are sitting chatting when Sarah blurts out that she is pregnant. We all get really excited, congratulate them, and say how happy we are. We start asking some questions, and Sarah says she is 2 weeks pregnant. Everyone then kind of loses a little bit of excitement and says, "Wow, that's really early. We suggest to wait before telling other people. Just a lot can happen." People usually don't even know they're pregnant until at least 6 weeks, and even then, they're encouraged to wait until after the first trimester to tell people. My brother and sister-in-law were very happy and excited for them, but cautioned them even more, as they have experienced multiple miscarriages before having their first child. Matt replied by saying they are only telling the people closest to them, for example his parents, her parents, and her siblings. No one else, since it is so early. Well, the next day, Sarah called her great uncle and his wife over for drinks and decided to tell them too. She called her one aunt and uncle and told them, and by the end of the day, basically the entire extended family knew, as well as some of her mum's friends who stopped by the house, and Sarah told them too. With each person Sarah told, Matt got more agitated, as they'd agreed to only tell a select few people. Matt finally gave up and asked her why she doesn't just post it on Facebook, as it will be quicker. To which she replied, she wants to, but she thinks it will be frowned upon. My husband came to me and said it feels like she is trying to draw the attention away from us and our wedding, as she is known to do anything and everything to have the spotlight on her. I said, don't worry about it. When we are in my home country, she isn't going to know many people, so she won't say anything. He agreed, but went to his parents and told them what he was feeling, and asked if they could politely suggest that she keep it to herself when we left for the trip. They agreed that it was valid for him to feel that way, as they know she hates it if the focus is not on her. Anyway, we leave for the wedding and I see my mum for the second time in 5 years. Obviously, it was a very emotional reunion, but we wiped off our tears quickly and sat down for a meal with my husband's family. After I introduced her to everyone, the waiter takes our order, and the first thing Sarah says to my mum is, "Your daughter probably already told you, but I won't be drinking on this trip." My mum says that that's not a problem, you don't have to drink to have fun, and that Sarah will still have fun, even if she chooses not to drink. Sarah, though, interrupts my mum to tell her it's not by choice that she's not drinking, but that she is pregnant. Keep in mind, this is 10 minutes after she met my mum. My mum says congratulations and keeps on with another conversation. But Sarah interrupts my mum again and tells her that she is 2 weeks pregnant and just so excited. Now, my mum, who is in medicine, then tells Sarah the same thing that we did, that she should probably wait until she is in her second trimester to tell people, and Sarah completely ignores her. The same thing happens with my aunt, cousins, uncles, sister and grandparents, all of whom she had never met before. My husband yet again speaks to his parents and asks them to please tell her to keep it private because it feels as though she is purposefully trying to take the attention away from our wedding. They say they will talk to her. Matt actually comes up to us and apologizes, saying that he agrees that it's gotten out of hand and that the number of people that know is way more than the number they agreed upon. Fast forward, we are sitting eating while we wait for one of our excursions. A family that I lived with for 3 months when I first moved to my husband's country flew out for the wedding and met up with us for lunch. They have never met my sister-in-law. The wife and I are talking about the wedding and all the arrangements, while my sister-in-law sits across from us and listens to the conversation. My husband orders some shots for everyone at the table, when his mum says she doesn't want one, so he tells the server -1. My sister-in-law hears him ordering the shots and goes off yelling across the table, "I can't drink alcohol! You know I can't drink a shot! Why would you order me one?" Everyone kind of stops and looks at her for a second, before my husband says it's not a problem as Matt said he wants to. Everyone then continues their conversation, including the wife and I. My sister-in-law interrupts me and continues to make a big fuss over how my husband ordered her alcohol when he knows she's not drinking. The wife then says it's okay because Matt said he'll drink it, so it's not going to waste. But she then says again how annoying it is that my husband ordered her a shot, and I just say to not worry because I'll just drink it if Matt doesn't want it. She keeps doing this until I finally tell the wife that she's not drinking because she is pregnant. The wife says congratulations, asks her how far she is, and then also tells her to be careful about telling too many people. This situation happens about 3 more times in the week leading up to the wedding. Now, this is why I could be the jerk here. The last time it happened, she was telling my high school friends at the wedding how sick she's been, but nobody asked why she was sick. They were just empathetic and saying they hope she feels better. They came over to me to talk to me, and she followed again, complaining about how sick she has been and kind of pushing them to ask why she's been feeling so sick. When I finally said, "Sarah, are you freaking kidding me? No one gives a dang that you are pregnant. They don't even know you." Sarah ran off crying, and my mother-in-law heard me say that and told my father-in-law, who screamed at my husband, saying how he hurt Sarah's feelings and how she's just excited. My husband doesn't think I did anything wrong, and my high school friends think that I was fine too, because they know the backstory. But my mum and some of my husband's family think I was the jerk. So, am I the jerk for telling my sister-in-law that no one cares that she is pregnant? Now, before we get into my thoughts on this and that all-important update, first of all, some comments. Somebody said, 2 weeks pregnant just doesn't exist. If she's used the clear blue test that says 2 weeks, it actually means she is 4 weeks. Your weeks of pregnancy are dated from the first day of your last period. This means that in the first 2 weeks or so, you're not actually pregnant. Your body is preparing for ovulation, releasing an egg from one of your ovaries as usual. OP replied, saying that she said she knows when she got pregnant. It was their anniversary from when they started dating, and then she took a pregnancy test and it came back positive 2 weeks after the anniversary. She could also apparently feel when the implant of the egg happened. I mean, that has to be a load of absolute waffle. What the heck? I mean, I'm not a woman, and I've never been pregnant, sadly. But surely, guys, get in the comments. That's just not a thing, is it? Someone else said, here is the real problem. Her husband, her parents, even your husband should have told her off long before this reached your breaking point. You did nothing wrong, but apparently nearly everyone else was more than happy to play the role of enabler to this little princess. Someone else agrees, yeah, you're not the jerk. She just sounds insufferable. Is she the golden child? Yep, she never finished college after asking her dad to pay for 4 different colleges and degrees, and then still got a graduation present when she moved away to work on a ranch. She also gets an allowance for money every month from her father. Now, 9 days later, we got that all-important update, but before we get into that, I just have to say that I agree fully with all the commenters here. What is she doing? First of all, yeah, you can't be pregnant. I mean, you can't effectively say that you're pregnant that early, can you? I mean, 2 weeks. Surely you can't. You can't say I'm 2 weeks pregnant. No one's ever said that. Secondly, why would you do that? So much stuff can happen in that first trimester that can, ruin everything, sadly. So that is why people often do wait, or the majority of the time do wait until later down the line. Thirdly, if you are going to tell people and it is going to be really, really close family, then fair enough. But make sure that it still is only really, really close family. Don't tell great aunts and uncles and then they'll tell everyone else, and just now you're telling random people that haven't even met you. You might as well say, hi, my name is pregnant at this point. That's how much you care. And look, don't get me wrong. Being pregnant, I'm sure, is an amazing thing. But is it amazing enough to gloat to everyone? People you don't even know? No, it's not. I mean, maybe it is, but you just don't need to do that. Anyway, let's see what happens next. My husband and I finally had our honeymoon, and we were unreachable during our holiday because we were out of the country. Our whole family knew this before we left, and we told them the only way to reach us in an emergency was to call the hotel. We knew that Sarah was going in for her appointment while we were away, and we told her that we'd call her as soon as we got back home. My husband and I were out one day for the whole day from the hotel doing activities, and when we got back, we found a note on our room to say we have to go to reception. Once we got to reception, the person told us we had 7 missed calls from family and gave us a number to call. We didn't know who called or what about, but we thought it was an emergency. We called the number and it was Matt. He was very confused and asked why we were calling him on our honeymoon and asked if we were okay. Well, we said that the hotel said that this number called 7 times and asked him if everything was okay. Matt said everything was fine, but that Sarah wanted to talk to us. Oh, what a surprise. Matt called Sarah over and she asked us how we were having fun, etc. But we just wanted to know what was going on because we were so worried. Sarah said she went to the doctor and got some news. We asked if everything was okay because she kept not saying anything and we could hear her and Matt whispering to each other. We heard Matt say to her, "Did you seriously call the hotel 7 times to tell them this? It could have waited." Sarah finally gets back on the phone and said that the doctor said she was going to have twins. We said congratulations and asked if there was anything else. We thought again that it was an emergency. She said no, she just wanted to share the news because she is so excited and scared and she couldn't hold it in. She said she also called my mum and told her. They are friends on social media. My husband and I both just said we were very happy for them, but really didn't want to be bothered again if it was not an emergency. Sarah said we were being very rude and she just wanted to share the good news. We hung up because we had to get ready for dinner. When we got back into the US, my in-laws picked us up from the airport and were asking us if we spoke to Sarah. We said yes. She said she was having twins and we were very excited for them. My father-in-law then said that Sarah told them we were extremely rude to her and Matt and that we were dismissive and hung up the phone. We told them what really happened and they said that is not what Sarah has told the whole family. We are now back in our house and haven't spoken to Sarah or Matt. Matt texted us both, but the text only came through later. He said he was so sorry that they bothered us on our vacation and he felt horrible. We just text back saying it was all good and that we were very excited for both of them. All I can say about this whole situation is that I am very happy that we live on the other side of the country from Sarah. Okay, so that is the end of the story. But before I give my thoughts, and wow, I have a lot of thoughts to give, here is an additional comment from OP. I spoke to my mother-in-law today and like everyone said, Sarah didn't calculate her time right. Wow, I'm not, again, very surprised at all. She's actually about 8 to 9 weeks pregnant according to my mother-in-law. She is also having twins that were 2 eggs and 2 sperms. Not sure the medical name, each has their own sac. Now interestingly, someone asked this. Did your brother go with her to the doctor? Did he see the ultrasound? For some reason, women who fake pregnancies often claim they're having twins. Now, that isn't a super likely scenario, but this woman does sound pathologically desperate for attention. Maybe I've watched too many Dr. Phil episodes on women who fake pregnancies, but I'd reverse image search any ultrasound pictures that she sends or posts. And that is a thought that I hadn't even considered, but I guess it does make sense. If she is this keen for attention, who knows to what length she'd go to get it. Opie replied, I think Matt went with, yes. When we got back to the US, she did send a picture of the ultrasound. Now, I'm not a doctor or in the medical field at all, but it did look like 2 babies to me. Okay, so look, I'm probably just about happy enough to write that off as a possibility. That's maybe even a step too far for Sarah, although, I mean, honestly, who knows? She probably could do that. I just don't think that that's that likely. I do have to say, though, what like a attention-seeking little mug she is. And I'm just like, I'm thinking the whole time, Matt, what are you doing to me? Why are you with a person like this? He knows, he clearly knows. He's like apologizing throughout the entire thing to his sister and to you know, her husband and the family in general. You know the sort of person that you're with and how just annoying and like horrible she is, clearly, and how attention seeking she can be. Just why? I'm sure you love her, but why? Does this not like just show you that she's just not the sort of person that you want to be with for the rest of your life? If everyone in the family is just saying she's so annoying, why is she doing this sort of thing? And OP is saying at the end, your sister is saying, I'm so happy I live as far away from her as I possibly can within the constraints of the same country. I don't know. I think that'd be a pretty good indication, but yeah, I guess he's sort of stuck with her now as she's pregnant. Am I the jerk for rolling my eyes at my boyfriend's proposal because it took 25 years of me begging? Now, this was originally posted on December 17th, 2023. Yesterday, after dinner, my boyfriend of 30 years, who is 53 years old, proposed to me, a 52-year-old woman. He just walked towards me, holding a box, and said to open it. It was a ring, and I'd pictured this moment a million different times, but never thought I'd be so apathetic. My boyfriend then said that he was retired now and wants to kick back and enjoy life with me, and would love to do it all with me as his wife. A nice speech and all, but from the 5-year mark of our relationship onwards, I've been making clear my deep desire to marry, and was consistently dismissed, given empty promises, even gaslit. We'd been through the gamut with therapy, and one counsellor implied that me telling him we needed to go to therapy and getting his butt on the couch still means nothing if his mind has been made up. I was in denial about the fact that he was just giving me the false illusion of progress to stool. My boyfriend and I have 4 kids. The oldest 3 are adults, while the youngest is a 15-year-old girl. She was sleeping over elsewhere when this all went down. All of our kids went to a private school filled with typical southern soccer parents. I had to endure PTA mums' jabs about me not sharing a last name with my kids. Pre-teen years were hell because the other kids would taunt my kids by saying, "Your dad would rather sin and go to hell than marry your mum." My boyfriend's mum would tell him that marriage would be selfish on my part. It's just a piece of paper. My boyfriend ended up rising up the ranks until he became an executive. I was a stay-at-home mum, so I felt like there was always a power imbalance, exasperated by the fact that I could be tossed at any time. I partly did stay because I wanted my kids to have the best life, and because I felt lucky and proud to be partnered with such an intelligent, successful man, but also because I loved him. These past few years, my boyfriend's career has taken a downturn. He will never be poor, but the company he was part of took a nosedive during 2020, and he had made enemies out of associates and board members. He decided to step back from his role and take the generous severance agreed upon. Now he is living off his investments and wants to relax. I did not like how his career ended and how he treated people, and had been deciding whether I wanted to leave and find somebody else after our youngest turns 18. So the proposal was a shock because I should hope that he noticed I've avoided conversations about the future as of late. He rattles on about downsizing our house so we can travel and also cut back on our other expenses, but we're not married, so it's all his money and house anyway. He did notice my eye roll and was offended. He asked what's wrong, and I said that suddenly, now that he's downsizing, I'm good enough to marry? He got mad and said that now that he's downsizing and no longer an executive, I suddenly think our relationship is disrespectful, and started implying I was a gold digger. I was so angry I walked out and said I might just go out looking for a respectful relationship because I don't know what respect is anymore. So, am I the jerk? Alright, let's get into some comments. Somebody said, actually, OP, you are the jerk here. Why did you beg for 25 years instead of proposing yourself after 1 year? OP replies, he said that if I tried to strong arm him into marriage, whether by changing my last name after our kids were born, or any proposal stunts, he'd be tempted to rethink this relationship. Someone else asked, if you were begging for him to propose, why did you stay for 25 years? Because I was a stay-at-home mum of many kids, and he was this big executive, so I felt if I offended him in any way, he'd use his influence to screw me in a custody battle, or otherwise make my life miserable. And finally, someone else says, he called you a gold digger. You've been with him for a quarter century without ownership in anything, and he called you a gold digger? Yeah, that's a good point. But they continue, everyone sucks here. Him for not committing to you, but having 4 kids with you, and you for staying with him and having 4 kids with him. Marry him at least so you get equity in your home. He should have put your name on the deed. Opie replies, yes, because if I were a gold digger, I would have smiled and said yes with intent to divorce him. Instead, I said no, but he's just mad about the eye roll. Yeah, I think I can get behind the everyone sucks here argument, to be honest. I do feel like this guy clearly is not coming across very well, and it is strange that after all this length of time, where he knows that you do really want to get married and you've been so loyal to him during all of this, only now is he proposing to you. But I do agree. I think also you could have done a lot more here. You're kind of, I don't want to say it, but like guilt tripping us a little bit into making us feel really bad for you, us the reader. I think you're also semi-victimizing yourself a little bit. It's not as if you were completely like controlled by him and had to do exactly what he said at all times, or you risked everything. I don't think that's true. Like, you are in this relationship as much as he is. They're your kids as well, as much as they're his, obviously, and you're the one that's with them the majority of the time. You know, you're the stay-at-home mum. It would be very unlikely, I think, that if you were to split up, you wouldn't be able to have a good chunk of time with the kids. If anything, I think you'd probably get primary custody. I'm not sure, we don't know this, but I do feel like you're kind of saying, oh, there was nothing I could do. Well, there was things you could do. And again, maybe it's easy to say now, looking back in hindsight, but I do agree with the last comment. Like, it was kind of your choice that you stayed with him and then had 4 kids with him, and now you're unhappy about it. The fact that he was never going to propose to you and didn't ever seem to. I don't know, maybe I'm being too harsh, but I think I agree with that. Anyway, get your comments down below. But 9 days later, on December the 18th, we got the first update. At the time of my original post, my boyfriend and I had not spoken since the engagement fight. I've been with him long enough to know that when he goes and closes the bedroom door before I get in, that's a signal that I should sleep in one of the guest rooms, so I did that. However, this morning I broke the ice. I told him about how dismissed I felt over the years. I also said that we are both in our 50s, and these last few years have taught us that people at work who kiss the ground you walk on one day can easily turn on you the next. True partners in life are valuable and hard to find, so I wished he'd treat me like I'm valued. Instead, he treats me like he thinks prettier, better, and just as loving is always around the corner. I apologized for the eye roll, but told him that if he wants marriage, I want a quick, committed timeline and genuine happiness from him to be marrying me. I don't need a big party. He listened to me and finally asked if this was about the money/security. He told me that being an executive's girlfriend required things of me, but if I wanted to work, I could have. He said he doesn't think I'm grateful enough for the position in society I was in due to his career, but that he's not mad about the eye roll. He said he didn't succeed by being that sensitive. He went on to say I was not his prisoner, so I can leave at any time, but to remember that he won't tolerate being made my prisoner either via manipulation. He said that for what it's worth, the engagement ring is mine and I could do whatever I wanted with it. He will also not be accused of not providing for his daughter, so be assured that he won't shirk child support, but that he felt what I said before was emotional blackmail. So he no longer wants to go forward with marrying, but says if I'd like to travel with him, that's fine. Him traveling is non-negotiable, and so if I wanted to get a job, it would have to be a remote job. It was a sad conversation, and I spent a few hours alone after that. I felt I had nothing to lose, so I just asked him if he would support me getting an associate's, but that most associates for technical careers were in person. He then dropped the bombshell that if I wasn't traveling with him, he wasn't going to go those periods without sex. I was astounded by his callousness, because he's back to take it or leave it. We fought again with me saying we're all feeling the effects of age. I've supported him through health issues, and if he thinks he can just find somebody who has that loyalty I've shown him, he's wrong. At this point, I'm looking for ways out. I can't say I haven't been tempted to say I'll travel with him and try and get a remote job, but also realize how resentful I am that he continues to need to have the power in the relationship. I don't think I'll ever know my value truly, but something is telling me there has to be better out there, at least in a partner. Alright, now OP has added a little update here. Last update from me for a while, she says. I've decided to start sending in applications for work from home jobs, such as social media manager, operations assistant, and bookkeeper, as soon as I can get a resume together. I've downloaded templates online and I'm looking into displaced homemaker programs. There are some resume tip websites that are saying they have helped homemakers land $60,000 jobs, and I'm going to work hard on my resume. I hope that when they see my earnestness in the interview, they would be moved to take a chance on me instead of saying that a white-collar job is too much for me to ask for when I'm willing to work hard. I feel that after running a household, that these operations and administration jobs, as well as social media management jobs, since I've done the photography for my family and friends, would be within my scope of experience. I hope my comments have not come off as spoiled or out of touch. I apologize if that has offended anyone. What I was trying to say is that I want to be able to rent a studio or a one-bedroom in a semi-safe neighborhood, and I've heard that new grads are able to make $45,000 to $50,000 a year semi-remote in business administration or marketing, and then hit $70,000 to $80,000 in around 5 years. And I hope that if I show my intent to get a certification in those fields, that employers would give me this opportunity for me to rise up the ranks. I just need somebody to take a chance on me and let me prove that I'm a hard worker. I'm not above applying to the big box retailers and such, but the people who work there seem to be all teens or else adults with dubious criminal past. So for the sake of my safety, as well as the promotion opportunities available with desk jobs, I would like to explore all my options. I will not sell the ring as of right now, out of respect for my partner. However, if he shows me any more displays of disrespect, I will sell the ring. I will, however, do everything I can to prevent myself from falling into poverty, and if that means seeing a lawyer, I will do so. But in my opinion, new grads don't have that much more experience and are much less invested in a job, so they can pick up and leave at any time. So I feel I'd be a more reliable hire. Alright, now I've picked out a couple of points that OP has said in the comments down below that I think are worth Reading. First of all, her thoughts on the lack of communication in the relationship and taking advantages of her boyfriend. She says, I hope he also stops blaming me for whenever life doesn't rain gold appreciation down onto him. I hope that if he does try to find somebody else to have sex with, because again, he said that he will not abstain from sex if I'm at home and he's traveling, that he doesn't blame me for when he doesn't find somebody who will care and love him as I have done, when he goes looking for better and doesn't find it. And then her thoughts on not taking steps in her life to make earnings for herself without having to depend on her boyfriend. Now this, I think, is quite important. I understand, and I'm mostly numb to the harsh words from a large amount of the comments. Now, these comments are pretty much saying the same thing I sort of said after the initial post. Could you not have done something yourself? You can't fully rely on this person, you know. You're kind of acting like the victim a little bit. Now, I get it. She is a stay-at-home mum, and that's an amazing thing to do. But I don't know. There's a lot of complaints going on when, in theory, you probably do have the money to get some sort of childcare and you to go and get a job. And did you have to wait till this late on for you to have the conversation about getting a job with your boyfriend? I'm not entirely sure. She continues, I was hoping that if a part-time job would take me on, I'd be able to get myself an apartment and a reliable source of transportation so I could start afresh. If not, I want to look into certificate programs or non-profits that help mums first get a certificate and then get a job. I don't know what remote jobs are like, but if there's remote part-time jobs that don't pay much but allow me to work from home so I can set up my new life, I'd love to do that. I know a cousin in her 30s who is a mum that works part-time but makes about $30 an hour, but I know she has an accounting degree. Her setup is great and hopefully she can give me pointers because I know she networked her way into that job too. Overall, I know I have a lot to figure out. Okay, I guess at this stage, OP's made it pretty clear that she's not keen on this relationship continuing any further, or at the very least, she is going to try her hardest to get a part-time job of some sort, which I fully respect, and I agree. I hope that she should be able to show her work ethic and her passion, despite her lack of career experience, to get a decent job. Just because she's a little bit older does not mean that she shouldn't have the same opportunities as a younger person. And also, everyone knows the workforce general age is getting older. So yeah, I mean, she's still got a lot of potential years to be working a proper career. So I say good luck to her. Now let's see what happens next. Okay then, on to update 2 now. This is posted about a month after the first update on January 26th, 2024. It's been over a month since I last posted, and my life has changed drastically. For those who didn't see my previous posts, my boyfriend of 30 years proposed after I'd begged him for 25 years, and I had rolled my eyes as it took him that long and not being an executive anymore. In response, he retracted the proposal. Now, I really wish this update could have been positive, but I'm not doing well. What remains though is hope. Hope in the kindness of others. My grown kids, employers, courts, even my kid's dad. Hope in the value of love that I've given so freely to my kid's dad. Because I was raised to believe that even those who don't appreciate the love I've given them will eventually self-actualize and pay it back. Here is what happened since. Since my kid's dad accused me of trying to keep him an emotional prisoner, I tried to show him that I valued his freedom. I gave him his space, and I showed that I could live life without trapping him. I started doing that right after our discussion, but his reaction was anger. After our talk, he started glaring and picking fights over everything. The speed at which I did housework, my spending within his allowance, and cut it to nearly zero. He asked for the ring back during an argument. I took the comments to my post to heart. In particular, advice telling me that if badgered, I should refuse to leave the house. Just a few days after our conversation about the engagement, he picked a fight and accused me of ignoring him. He said he wanted me out. I said no, I deserve to be here. He responded by having a lawyer send me a notice telling me to vacate that day. It happened so quickly, I was too shocked to react. This is making me thinking, guys, that maybe I've been too harsh on this lady. Maybe I have been. And maybe actually everything that she's been saying so far is completely fair. Hold my hands up if I got this wrong, but let's see what happens. My kids were torn between dad's bluffing and try to leave, but now he's filed to evict. It's up to the courts now. I tried looking for legal aid, but the person I talked to was cold and implied that my status as a mum and partner won't protect me from eviction. I've tried sending out applications for office jobs, but was told by friends to be kind to myself because if one rejection comes, something better will come along. My adult kids suggested I apply for SNAP, food stamps, and I haven't out of shame. They said if I do, and Dad and I no longer live together, the government will help me collect child support. My grown kids said they can't risk upsetting Dad. My oldest told me a gas station was hiring night shifts, and he tried to help once he graduated. Just when I decided to just be grateful for the job, they rejected me after an interview where I feel I spoke well. That hurt. But I keep having hope because every day there are new remote and non-remote jobs posted, saying they'll train the right candidate. By the way, it's worth mentioning, guys, if you're not watching this, if you're listening to this, that every time OP has written Dad, it's now in inverted commas. I'm applying to every corporation, it seems, with hope that one of them will take a chance on me. Give me an interview that I will ace. See me for somebody pulling herself up. I know my boyfriend wants me to beg, but I don't know if that would make him drop the suit. I just don't know anymore. I'm in my corner of the house, trying to keep things normal and applying like it's a job. I don't know what else to say, but that ends my update for now. I maintain hope and dignity. Oh my goodness me, right. Suddenly, out of nowhere, things have got increasingly more tough for OP. I didn't really expect this. I thought she'd be okay. But anyway, here are some relevant comments. Someone said below this, I'm so sorry you're going through this, OP. Have you thought about applying for a trade apprenticeship? I don't know the details of your circumstances or skills, but I wanted you to have another option to consider. OP replies, my skills of competency are mostly around marketing and maybe something like investor relations, which my boyfriend's sister was in for around 8 years before she got married and changed to another role. I love creating beautiful imaging and speaking to people, even if they're strangers. I know it doesn't come off that way because I've been through a lot emotionally lately. I don't think I'd be a personality fit around tradespeople. We would likely have nothing in common, ever, and they run the gamut in terms of background that make them choose trades over an office job that climbs the corporate ladder. Then OP was asked about getting legal advice and how she was served by her ex. No, I was actually served by a sheriff, she says. My son looked the sheriff up and confirmed he is legitimate. A friend of his, whose dad works in the courts, the friend does not know my husband, says he knows the sheriff, and he's been used by his own company to serve stuff when they sued. It was a 30-day notice. I told him I wasn't going to leave. The day after the 30-day notice expired, he filed for eviction, and I was soon served. Unless they got an identical twin of the sheriff to impersonate him, then this is real. I gave legal aid the papers, and they said it's real. And then finally, here are OP's comments on her education and work experience. I did not go to college, but I have done a lot of freelance marketing, doing stuff for family and friends' social medias, and editing family pictures, plus promoting school fundraisers. I'd love to get a certification if I had the funds, but when I'm entry level, I just want to put my nose to the grindstone and work to show my potential. Okay, let's move straight on now to the final update of this story so far. This was posted at the time of recording just 1 week ago on March the 6th, 2024. That's 1.5 months after this all started, after OP first posted her first post on Reddit. The unconscionable happened. A judge is letting my ex-boyfriend evict me. A judge who is supposed to uphold the laws of fairness, morality, and for years I assumed kindness, found in favor of my ex-boyfriend. My head is spinning. I've not found a job yet, and I did everything right. I applied to hundreds upon hundreds of marketing jobs online. I've gotten 3 responses, but those responses asked me to download communication apps to do the interview, and their instructions are so hard to understand. I don't do well with non-concrete directions, so I got too aggravated to respond. However, at this point, I'm desperate enough to interview even there. I've taken the advice to apply to non-marketing jobs. My older daughter wrote me a resume for an office assistant job for a church that only offered 8 to 10 hours a week at only $2 over minimum wage. I got called for an interview, and the pastor of all people seemed disappointed after seeing me and greeted me with a different tone than he greeted the next applicant who came in, a woman in her mid-20s. Horrible behavior from a mid-30s man. He even called me mom in this apprehensive tone, or ma'am for you Americans. I did not get the job, but I feel bad for whoever does. I only have a few days before a sheriff arrives. I called my kids for help. My legal aid attorney predicted I'd only get visitation until I have a stable place, and child support would likely be enough to only partially pay for motel living, so I needed to quickly get a job. How can the world treat a mum like this? My adult kids arranged to meet me and told me there's a reason even their grandma called my ex an alley cat. They offered to sneak food from dining halls when I visit and let me close for interviews, but said their dad laid down the law with regards to sending money and they will not be sending me any, and that when they get jobs of their own, they will also be prioritizing their own savings and I should not expect any money, and that it's not my fault, but at some point, the shows of fickle affection they've seen during their childhood, where they faced bullying and watched people like me who were kind be scorned, jaded them. And in all that instability, accomplishments and money were the only constants, and that has made them emotionally apathetic, but that it's hard to fix because it goes hand in hand with the overactive having sense of self-preservation they have acquired. They blame it on watching how self-preservation got their dad far and how the lack of it crushed others. I can't actually quite believe that paragraph. Is that incredibly introspective, or is it just weirdly arrogant and just a general excuse to not help out your own mother who looked after you and raised you? I don't know what I've just read. Comment down below, what do you think about that? I was able to sell the few things that my ex did not bother to claw away from me. I have enough to book a room at a motel for about a week, but then I don't know. I asked my newly 16-year-old if she'd want to stay with me when I get a motel room. She started crying and begging her dad to let me stay. I will fight for custody with every ounce of strength I have, but I'm guessing her siblings are telling her to enlist self-preservation and stay with her dad. I understand, I do, but she still needs her mum. I'm in contact with a shelter. Hopefully I can find somebody who will fight for me to get housing, but I don't know what my future holds. Now, really tellingly, someone has commented down below, you have no job or home. Why would you be granted custody? OP replies, I'm working on finding a stable place for me and my daughter. So there we go. That is the end of that one. And I'm not going to lie, I am completely unsure as to how to feel about this. One part of me, perhaps like the small, kind, sympathetic part, yes, it does exist, is thinking, this is really sad. This is a terrible situation. This woman has been in a kind of a bad situation for a long period of time in her marriage, or lack thereof, of course, and in her family home, and now she's being really mistreated and probably has been really for years by her boyfriend. And obviously this is all stemmed from a little thing of not being married, or not getting married, but I think that tells a bigger picture. But then the part of me is also thinking to myself, some of the stuff that she is saying is actually like horrible, and I don't really feel that sorry for her at all. What is she talking about with like tradespeople and not being able to interact with them because of their different interests and backgrounds and stuff? That's just not like that nice a thing to say. And I'm also just not entirely sure if we're not just getting one massive side of the story that's been exaggerated or whatever. And in reality, really, there's a lot more going on here. Obviously, we don't know this because we're only getting this woman's side of the story, but I'd love to hear directly from her 3 older kids, because I just do not believe that they would say stuff like that that's so disparaging against themselves. Again, get your comments in about that paragraph in particular. I found that so weird, and I would love to hear from their dad as well. We're just seeing him painted out to be a terrible person, but who knows? He might be a good guy who's just, now not getting on as well with his girlfriend. It's really hard to know. It's really hard. So I'm conflicted. I don't want to be too harsh on this woman, she could also just be in a really terrible spot. I mean, literally she is, but why is the point we're trying to work out. And I don't know, and I need you guys to come in and help. Shine some light. Give me your thoughts down below. I think this is going to be a pretty split comment section. So, if you're still watching, still listening, get your comments in. Have a look through, see what you agree with, see what you disagree with. I'll be in the comments immediately after I post this one, that's for sure. Just reading through the comments on Reddit, a lot of people are saying, I'm sorry, I just don't believe it. Also, I feel really bad for OP, but that her general viewpoint is very naive. I don't know where I lie. It's a confusing one. It really, really is. You could also say that, you feel bad because having a traditional lifestyle with no protection at all is terrifying, and she's in that role. But then she does seem like she's really privileged and comes from a place of privilege, but then also looks down on other people. I don't know, I'm waffling here. You guys know what I mean though. Get in the comments, help me out, please. Anyway guys, that is going to do it for this one. Really hope you enjoyed a few hours of some of the very best Reddit relationship drama stories from the year so far. If you did and you want even more, check it out on screen right here. I've made a playlist of all my relationship episodes. If you're new to the channel, hit the follow button, subscribe on whatever platform you're on, and I'll see you guys soon with some more phenomenal Reddit content.